Chapter 1184. Undo the seal. Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. The Qianyang subduing dragon technique he had handed over was a fake. When the Hehuan school discovered that the Qianyang subduing dragon technique was fake, they would definitely come looking for him to settle the score. When that time came, Du Xiaofu knew very well that even if he didn't die, he would still suffer. Right now, the only way was to undo the seal left behind by the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, in his body. Others might not be able to do this, but it didn't mean that Du Xiaofu didn't have a solution. Back when Du Xiaofu had been captured by Su Muxin, he had successfully undone the seal. Du Xiaofu only dared to come to the all-pleasure sect because he had some divine abilities, which was equivalent to having a lot of trump cards. Du Xiaofu was never a reckless person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to survive until now. It was just that others didn't know this. Just the mountain vein spirit alone could ignore all ordinary seals, even though it was currently sealed and couldn't activate the mountain vein spirit. However, Du Xiaofu knew that the lightning martial vein in his body didn't allow any aura to provoke it. Du Xiaofu knew how to activate the lightning martial vein. It had been the same back then. As long as he tried to activate it, he would be able to activate the lightning martial vein in his body and undo the seal on his body. Qi. Following Du Xiaofu's thoughts, the desire to break through the seal surged out. Just as Du Xiaofu had expected, his body immediately began to move. The thunder martial vein in his body began to move. Walala, as the mysterious runes on the talisman rippled, a surge of lightning energy immediately swam through Du Xiaofu's muscles, tendons, and bones. As the lightning martial vein started to react, Du Xiaofu also felt the strong seal placed on his body by the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, slowly start to show signs of wavering. The thunder martial vein spread out and shook the restrictive spell. Then, it started to destroy it. As long as there was enough time, the lightning martial vein would be able to destroy the seal. By time, Du Xiaofu was pleasantly surprised. As long as he destroyed the restrictions on his body, he would be able to leave if he wanted to. All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu's heart skipped a beat. A surge of hidden power immediately surged out from his body, helping him destroy the restrictions that the smiling Rakshasa, Tang Miling, had set up. Du Xiaofu still remembered that it was left behind by Zhao Lu. But at this moment, the hidden energy was helping Du Xiaofu to remove the restriction in his body, which was equivalent to Zhao Lu secretly helping Du Xiaofu to escape. Du Xiaofu did not know why Zhao Lu wanted to help him. However, he could feel that Zhao Lu and Su Muxin were not on good terms. From this, it could be seen that Hehuan school also had some internal strife. However, this was definitely not the reason why Zhao Lu wanted to help him secretly. The most important thing is to break the seal first. Du Xiaofu did not understand, so he did not intend to continue thinking about it. The most important thing was to break the seal on his body. With the lightning martial vein and the hidden energy left behind by Zhao Lu exploding in his body, Du Xiaofu could feel that the restrictions placed on his body by the smiling Rakshasa, Tang Miling, were being broken at an extremely fast speed. You are now free. The Hehuan school will not cause trouble for the Ji clan. The Fei clan has suffered a heavy blow this time, so they should not cause trouble for the Ji clan for a short period of time. In the quiet courtyard, Su Muxin spoke to Ji Jian, whose seal had been broken. Her dark purple figure was tall and her voice was soft and charming. What about Big Brother Dabai? Will you kill him? Ji Jian looked at Su Muxin and bit her lip. There was no joy in her eyes from regaining her freedom. Instead, there was a serious look in her eyes. Su Muxin looked at Ji Jian. After a few breaths of time, she softly said, "He is not your big brother Dabai. He is the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. The number of people who have died at his hands is more than 1,000,000. No matter who he is still my big brother Dabai. No matter how many people he has killed, I only know that my big brother Dabai will not kill anyone for no reason. Ji Jian's watery eyes were resolute. Even under the enormous pressure of Su Muxin's invisible pressure, she was still able to stare at Su Muxin. She said, "You are not planning to let Big Brother Dabai go, are you?" Su Muxin stood with her hands behind her back. She softly said to Ji Jian, "This matter has nothing to do with you anymore. Do you think that with your strength, you can interfere? Big Brother Dabai came here for me. You want me to stay, but you want him to leave?" Ji Jian looked straight at Su Muxin. "Huh." Upon hearing Ji Jian's words, Su Muxin smiled faintly. Her smile was like a blooming epiphyllum. It was ethereal and charming, enough to charm all living things. "Little girl, do you think you have the right to bargain with Hehuan School? This world is very realistic. Without strength, you are nothing. If you had the strength to defeat me today, perhaps Hehuan School would have taken you seriously." Su Muxin smiled at Ji Jian. Ji Jian's eyes trembled. She knew that she was not strong enough. Compared to Hehuan School, she was no different from an ant. "I beg you, let Big Brother Dabai go. I will do anything you want." Tears rolled down Ji Jian's face as she pleaded. She began to blame herself in her heart. Why was she not strong enough? If she had absolute strength, she would not be so helpless now. "Little girl, you have to know that this world does not believe in tears." Su Muxin looked indifferently at Ji Jian. She said, "If I agree to let that brat go, would you agree to become my woman?" Hearing this, Ji Jian raised her eyes slightly. Her eyes were moist as she stared at Su Muxin. Her eyes flickered. After a long time, Ji Jian's red lips parted slightly. Her voice trembled as she said softly, "As long as you agree to let Big Brother Dabai go, I will agree." Sigh. Hearing this, Su Muxin sighed softly. After a long time, she took a few steps forward and stood in front of Ji Jian. She gently wiped away the 2 streaks of tears on Ji Jian's cheeks with her dark purple sleeves. She said softly, "Little girl, you are still too young. You don't even know who that brat is, and you don't know anything about him. I only know that Big Brother Dabai came here stupidly for me even though he knew that he could not do anything to Hehuan School. He could have chosen not to come. You captured me just to lure him here, right?" Ji Jian instinctively took 2 steps back. She looked at Su Muxin and said, "I am willing to give up everything for him. If you really want to kill him, then kill me as well. Kill me while you still can. Otherwise, one day, when I come back to Hehuan School, I will definitely wash the Hehuan School in blood. Not even a chicken or dog will be spared." "Huh," Su Muxin laughed. She looked at Ji Jian and reached out to let go of the green hair that was tied up at the back of her head. Then, she brushed a few strands of hair across her face. Immediately, under Ji Jian's shocked gaze, a beautiful face was revealed. It was a face that could captivate all living things. It was so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. You are a woman," Ji Jian was flabbergasted. She had never imagined that the bewitching youth in front of her would actually be a woman. The Fei family has suffered heavy losses this time, but they probably still hold a grudge against the Ji family. Sooner or later, they will not let the Ji family off. When that time comes, the Ji family will be in deep trouble. Su Muxin looked at Ji Jian. Her voice became even gentler and more enchanting as she said, "You are quite talented, and you have the heavenly Yin body. Even I only have the earthly Yin body. You are most suited to cultivate a set of techniques from Hehuan School. Apart from the Imperial Palace's Dragon Chi, you seem to have received other benefits. Your potential is limitless." The cultivation method of the All-Pleasure sect was also not as rumored as the outside world. "Become my disciple. With your talent and potential, you will become an expert sooner or later. Whether you are willing to become my disciple or not, as long as Du Xiaofu gives me what I want, I will do my best to spare his life. Now, you can choose for yourself. If you are unwilling, I will immediately send someone to send you away." Ji Jian looked at Su Muxin, who was originally a woman. Her eyes flickered as she pondered. After a long time, Ji Jian slightly raised her eyes. Her eyes were filled with determination. She immediately knelt down and kowtowed. Thump, thump, after 3 consecutive kowtows, Ji Jian raised her head and said, "Disciple greets master." "Good, you may rise." Su Muxin smiled faintly. That smile was enough to charm everyone. "Junior brother. Junior sister," a figure rushed into the courtyard and entered the room. Seeing Su Muxin's feminine posture, she was surprised and said, "Junior sister, it's better if you don't expose yourself. If they know your identity, I'm afraid they won't be able to sit still." It was the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling. From her expression, it seemed that she already knew that Su Muxin was a woman. They can't sit still anymore. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come out today. The Qianyang dragon subduing art has appeared. This is not something they want to see. Su Muxin said to Tang Miling. Suddenly, her expression changed and she said, "Senior sister, why are you back? Where is that brat?" "That brat is in the heavenly prison." The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, said to Su Muxin, "However, that brat is quite honest. He has already handed over the Qianyang dragon subduing art. I'm here to show it to you to verify its authenticity. In the Manchu, other than master, only you can verify the authenticity of the Qianyang dragon subduing art." As she spoke, Tang Miling handed a jade slip to Su Muxin and said, "It's a pity that master has been away for more than 10 years. He hoped to find the Qianyang dragon subduing art in those rumors, but there has been no news. I hope the Qianyang dragon subduing art that brat gave me this time is real. That brat definitely won't hand over the Qianyang dragon subduing art so easily. There must be a trap." Su Muxin took the jade slip and peered into it with her consciousness. Her delicate face then changed, and the jade slip instantly cracked and turned into powder in her delicate hand. She looked up slightly and said, "It's fake indeed. It's fake. That brat actually dared to lie to me. Does he think I'm easy to talk to?" Tang Miling was instantly enraged. Her face, which was always full of smiles, also had a hint of green and red on it. Thinking of that brat's solemn vow to her and his confident face, Tang Miling's heart burned with anger. "I didn't think that I would really be fooled by that brat. Quick, let's go to the dungeon." Su Muxin's eyes trembled. She had a bad premonition. "Do you think that brat can escape? I placed a restriction on him. He must be obediently in the dungeon. I'll deal with him later." The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, said angrily. "That brat has a remarkable ability that can break the restriction." In an instant, Su Muxin had returned to her original male appearance. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure disappeared from the room. A voice rang out, "Jian, come with me." Su Muxin would never forget how that brat and another woman had been able to break the restriction she had placed on Tianhuang mainland. That brat can break the restriction. So what? The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, smiled faintly. She gently pursed her lips and said softly, "There are restrictions everywhere in the heaven-level dungeon. There are also several layers of talisman arrays. Ordinary martial domain realm cultivators can't escape. Even if they break the restriction, they can't escape. Even if they escape the dungeon, they can't escape from the Hehuan school." As soon as she finished speaking, Tang Miling also disappeared from the room unhurriedly. Chapter 1185. Tang Miling calmly disappeared from the room. She didn't believe that Du Xiaofu could escape from the heaven-level heavenly prison. Inside the secret dungeon, a purple electric glow surged from Du Xiaofu's body. With a flash of golden light, the restriction on his body was finally broken. "It's not safe here. Let's leave this place first," Du Xiaofu muttered to himself. He looked around the secret dungeon and a smile appeared on his face. Then, the golden runes on his body flickered. The five-finger mountain peak pulse spirit was activated. Golden light flashed and Du Xiaofu's body was immediately enveloped by the mountain peak pulse spirit. Then, Du Xiaofu disappeared into thin air. There was no trace of him in the secret dungeon. Dusk fell on the Hehuan school. On a huge mountain peak that reached into the clouds, the surroundings of the palace courtyard were dyed with clouds and mist that glowed with a golden light. The moment Du Xiaofu's figure disappeared, a beautiful woman's eyes lit up. She said to the two beautiful women and the handsome man beside her, "That kid broke the restriction so quickly. The Qianyang dragon subduing art must not fall into Su Muxin's hands. Even if the Qianyang dragon subduing art falls into Su Muxin's hands, it's not a big deal. Su Muxin can't practice another set of cultivation techniques." The handsome man said with a faint smile on his face. "All these years, I've always felt that something is wrong with Su Muxin. Even if he can't practice another set of cultivation techniques, he still has another set of cultivation techniques in his hands. Once the Qianyang dragon subduing art falls into his hands, it will be difficult to carry out our plan," the beautiful woman said. This woman was Zhao Lu. But now that Du Xiaofu has fallen into his hands, if Du Xiaofu really has the Qianyang subduing dragon exercise on him, I'm afraid that sooner or later Su Muxin will obtain the Qianyang subduing dragon exercise. A beautiful woman beside Zhao Lu had a worried look on her face. She was still charming and had an enchanting look on her face. Her invisible aura was definitely not below that of the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling. The restriction on Du Xiaofu's body has already been unlocked. That demon king is not easy to deal with. I secretly left a trace of spirit imprint on his body. As long as he and Su Muxin are both injured, no matter what the result is, it will be our chance. That brat has a lot of treasures on him, and he even has a spiritual thunder." Zhao Lu sneered. Suddenly, as her voice faded, her eyes flashed with astonishment as she said, "What's going on? That brat seems to have left the imperial prison. How is that possible? That's the Manchu's heavenly prison. How could that brat have escaped? Could it be Su Muxin's doing?" The handsome man's face immediately revealed a puzzled look. The imperial prison was so powerful that even an ordinary martial domain realm expert would not be able to leave. Although that demon king Du Xiaofu was not weak, it was still hard for the handsome man to believe that he could escape from the imperial prison. "Let's go take a look first. That brat has a lot of treasures on him. We can't miss this opportunity." As Zhao Lu's voice faded, her figure immediately swept across the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the two beautiful women and the handsome man's aura fluctuated as they followed closely behind her. Whoosh whoosh, three figures landed outside the heavenly prison that was heavily guarded by talisman arrays. It was Su Muxin, the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, and Ji Jian. "Look, there's no trace at all. That brat is still obediently staying inside." Looking around, the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, said to Su Muxin with a smile. This was the Hehuan school's heavenly prison. How could that brat have escaped from it? It would be impossible unless he had seen a ghost. Su Muxin's expression turned serious. She waved her long sleeve and the mysterious runes on the imperial prison's heavenly prison burst out. Rumble, the imperial prison's door opened. The secret room of the imperial prison was empty. "What's going on? Impossible. Where's that brat?" The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, was the first to rush into the imperial prison's secret room. She had a surprised look on her face as she scanned the surroundings with her consciousness. There was no aura around. At this moment, there was not even a speck of dust in the secret room that she could see. It was impossible for someone to hide in there. That brat has absorbed Leizuan's lightning energy. Even if he has broken the seal, he can't have escaped far. Chase after him quickly. Su Muxin had a serious look on her face. She immediately left the imperial prison as soon as she finished speaking. The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, was furious. She said, "That brat is too hateful. If he falls into my hands again, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. Damn it." At dusk, a simple and vigorous curve appeared between the mountain range and the sky. The mountain peak in the west emitted a red light. The atmosphere was tranquil. Du Xiaofu appeared at the edge of the mountain range. He smiled evilly and said, "I'm afraid I'll be discovered soon. Do you think I'll escape from the Hehuan school first? I'll do the opposite. But first, I'll have to consume the lightning energy in my body." After muttering those words, Du Xiaofu's figure flashed. He immediately dashed into the mountain range in front of him. A moment later, night had fallen. The mountain range was shrouded in darkness. Du Xiaofu's figure appeared and retracted his aura. This was the depths of the Hehuan school. Any aura fluctuation would not be able to escape the prying eyes of the experts. At this moment, Du Xiaofu needed to find a place to absorb the lightning energy that had been devoured by the thunder martial vein in his body. The huge amount of lightning energy in his body caused Du Xiaofu's qi and blood to churn. He also needed to recover from his injuries. However, this also put Du Xiaofu in a difficult position. If he were to find a place to recover and his aura fluctuated, he would not be able to escape the prying eyes of the experts in the Hehuan school. Once he entered the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron, Du Xiaofu was also afraid that the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron would be exposed in the Hehuan school. The consequences would be even more severe. Although he had escaped from the imperial prison, Du Xiaofu still had a bitter smile on his face. He was still in danger. It would not be easy to leave the Hehuan school completely. Not good. How could they catch up with me so quickly? All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu seemed to have sensed something. His expression changed greatly, and a golden light burst out from his back. He activated the golden rock wings at once, and used the carefree steps to rush into the depths of the mountain range. Whoosh whoosh, just as Du Xiaofu's figure disappeared for a moment, several figures appeared in midair. Several vigorous and powerful auras froze the void. That kid is quite vigilant. There is a forbidden area in front of him. He has no place to escape, and he can't escape. Zhao Lu said. Her figure turned into a flash of lightning and swept across the sky, disappearing in mid-air in an instant. Walala, in the night sky, a golden light burst out. It was as fast as lightning, like a golden thunderbolt, rapidly streaking across the sky. Kid, you can't escape. There is a forbidden area in front of you. You're just courting death. That kid's speed is really strange. How can he be so fast? In mid-air, several flowing light characters swept across the sky. They were extremely fast, even faster than the golden thunderbolt. The golden figure flapped its wings. It was Du Xiaofu. His figure swept across the sky like lightning. The golden rock wings swept across the space ripples. Du Xiaofu lifted his head slightly and looked to the front. His expression was extremely puzzled. A purple-colored lightning surged out of his eyes. The lightning martial veins in his body seemed to have sensed something deep within the mountain range in front of him. Even the resplendent yellow lightning in his body, which had originally swallowed the great earth thunder reverend, was fluctuating. What is in front of me? Du Xiaofu was puzzled. At this moment, 4 auras were chasing him from behind. That voice clearly belonged to Zhao Lu. At this moment, he had no way to retreat. Walala, gritting his teeth, Du Xiaofu had no way to retreat. He flapped his wings and fled with all his strength. Du Xiaofu knew that if he fell into the hands of the Hehuan school again, he would not have any chance to escape. Suddenly, the lush mountain range in front of him gradually became barren. The surrounding mountains were barren and there were traces of cracks on the ground. The surrounding space was completely different from the scene in front of him. A faint aura of thunder and lightning filled the space. The aura of thunder and lightning gave Du Xiaofu a very familiar feeling. The closer he got to the front, the more blurred and illusory the space became. The cracks on the ground also became more and more pronounced. It was as if a destructive aura was about to erupt from somewhere. Chapter 1186. Du Xiaofu had no way of shaking off the 4 top-notch experts. "Kid, you can't escape. Surrender and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, it's a land of death in front of you. You'll definitely die." Zhao Lu's voice came from behind him. She was getting closer and closer. In a moment, he would be within her attack range. Although Zhao Lu had left some hidden energy in his body to help him break through the restrictions left behind by the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, Du Xiaofu definitely wouldn't trust Zhao Lu at this moment. He opened his mouth and said, "If you have the ability, catch me first. This little bastard is pretty fast at escaping. It's not a bad idea to let him die in there." Beside Zhao Lu, the handsome man who was chasing after her said gloomily. His speed was only slightly slower than Zhao Lu's. The other 2 women were slightly slower. "It doesn't matter if he dies, but that kid has many treasures on him. Any one of them is a treasure. It'd be a pity to lose them." Zhao Lu's expression was extremely gloomy. Celestial chi surged under her feet and a dazzling light burst out in the night sky. She gave chase at full speed. Chi. Finally, the distance between them was getting closer. Zhao Lu's brilliant runes swept out from behind him. Bang! Du Xiaofu used the wave-like carefree steps and dodged it. The energy hit a cracked barren mountain and destroyed it. "Little bastard, if you fall into my hands, I'll make you beg for death." Zhao Lu gloomily said, her complexion gradually becoming more and more unsightly. Chi La, with a few flaps of his wings, Du Xiaofu exploded with golden light. Just as his thunder martial vein and the yellow lightning energy in his body had a special feeling, a vast space suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a vast plain. A strange aura rippled in the night sky. Although it was called a plain, upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was a terrifying sinkhole. It was as vast as a plain. Everything was yellow. The sinkhole was bottomless under the night sky. It was like a black hole that could swallow everything. It made one's heart palpitate at the sight of it. Above the terrifying sinkhole, there were runes flashing and yellow electric arcs rippling. Whoosh! Suddenly, just as Du Xiaofu was about to cross the deep pit, a huge impact force came from the air like a tsunami, creating huge waves in the air. It brought along a resplendent yellow lightning as it swept over with the force of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Pucci, Du Xiaofu stood up. The rock behind him unfolded, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of pale golden blood. Looking ahead, Du Xiaofu saw a patch of dazzling runes and resplendent yellow lightning arcs rushing out of the crater. The yellow lightning arcs and the lightning god art that the Earth Thunder Reverend had comprehended came out at the same time. The runes soared into the sky along with the yellow lightning arcs, connecting the night sky. It was like a waterfall pouring down from the 9 heavens, rippling with a terrifying aura. What a powerful rune array! Du Xiaofu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. In front of him was a huge and terrifying rune array that covered the sinkhole. The rune array's aura seemed to be a sealing rune array, but its aura was much more terrifying than the rune array set up in the Hehuan School Square during the day. It was definitely a 9-star rune array. Whoosh whoosh, following Du Xiaofu's delay, several figures behind him landed dozens of feet away. Boom! 4 powerful auras descended one after another, shrouding and sealing the surrounding space. Little bastard, let's see where you can run now. That's a land of death. You'll definitely die if you go in. The handsome man's face was gloomy. His eyes were as deep and vast as the stars, but at this moment, a cold light shot out from his eyes. He was about to attack Du Xiaofu. However, the light in Zhao Lu's eyes slightly changed, and she blocked the handsome man without leaving a trace. Zhao Lu's beautiful figure slowly stepped forward. Her golden mist gown was embroidered with a few rich peonies, and it dragged on the ground, outlining a graceful arc. She was like a young girl. The gloominess on her face disappeared without a trace, as if she was a different person. Her eyes were even more charming. Looking at Du Xiaofu, she said, "Little brother Xiaofu, I think you should know what's going on since you were able to break the seal. Therefore, you should know that I don't have any ill intentions towards you." Du Xiaofu looked at Zhao Lu in front of him, and his figure slowly retreated, gradually approaching the talisman array. Runes rippled around his back, and electric arcs flickered. A terrifying aura was boiling behind him. Once that terrifying aura came into contact with him, the consequences would be worrying. His gaze was fixed on Zhao Lu and the other three in front of him. Du Xiaofu did not look behind him, but at this moment, he could feel that the deep pit under the terrifying talisman array seemed to be sealing something, causing the thunder martial vein in his body to fluctuate. Du Xiaofu could also feel that the resplendent yellow lightning energy in his body, which was originally devouring Lezuan's earth, was fluctuating violently at this moment, as if it felt something of the same origin. "If you don't have any ill intentions towards me, why did you chase after me?" Du Xiaofu had no way to retreat. He slightly raised his head and looked at Zhao Lu, who was approaching in front of him. On Zhao Lu's charming face, her eyes twitched slightly, but she did not hide it. Looking at Du Xiaofu, her charm was even more alluring. Her voice was soft and gentle as she said, "Without me, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave the Hehuan school. Believe me, I don't have any ill intentions towards you. I'll send you out of the Hehuan school. Otherwise, Su Muxin will not let you go." "Why should I believe you?" Du Xiaofu asked in a deep voice, looking ahead. With 4 such experts sealing the space, there was no chance for him to escape. "Because I secretly helped you escape. Otherwise, why would I help you escape?" Zhao Lu looked at Du Xiaofu with a serious face, and with an innocent smile of a young girl, she said, "To tell you the truth, little brother Xiaofu, I've always been at odds with Su Muxin. I'm the school superintendent of the Hehuan school, and he's the schoolmaster. The Demon King Du Xiaofu's name has shaken Kyushu, and he's the #1 expert of the younger generation in Kyushu. I've always wanted the Hehuan school to be on good terms with little brother Xiaofu, but that Su Muxin is bent on killing little brother Xiaofu." Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered with a faint golden light as he looked at Zhao Lu and said, "Is what you said true?" "Of course it's true. Elder sister can swear that I'm at odds with that Su Muxin. Even if it's because the enemy of my enemy is my friend, I'll definitely help little brother Xiaofu escape. As long as little brother Xiaofu remembers elder sister's kindness in the future, it's fine." Zhao Lu's smile was captivating. She slowly approached Du Xiaofu and said, "Moreover, little brother Xiaofu is the #1 expert of the younger generation, and his future is limitless. If my Hehuan school can be on good terms with little brother Xiaofu, we might be able to obtain great benefits in the future." Du Xiaofu nodded at Zhao Lu and said, "All right, I'll believe you for the time being. We should have some trust in each other. Don't you think so, little brother Xiaofu?" Zhao Lu's face was full of smiles, and a trace of joy flashed in her eyes. "Of course, I'm willing to believe you for once." Du Xiaofu earnestly nodded. The instant his voice faded, a purple flame suddenly erupted from his body. The surrounding space was suddenly filled with a terrifying blazing purple flame, and in a flash, it swept towards Zhao Lu like a purple flaming meteorite. Qi La. Almost in an instant, Zhao Lu's face suddenly changed. A resplendent rune energy swept out like lightning, and directly swept towards Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1187. Rumble, the two energies collided. Purple flames overflowed into the sky as runes shone brightly, engulfing a large mountain range before everything disappeared. Women are indeed unreliable, and old women are even more unreliable. As Du Xiaofu's laughter faded, his body was already wrapped in a dazzling golden light. The five-finger mountain peak vein spirit shadow covered his body as he directly rushed into the array. Under the eyes of Zhao Lu and the handsome man, Du Xiaofu directly entered the bottomless pit. Swoosh! Zhao Lu's figure swept away the purple flames and rune energies spreading in all directions like lightning as she rushed forward. However, she was already a step too late. Du Xiaofu's figure had already rushed into the array and directly jumped into the heavenly pit and disappeared. This little bastard is too treacherous. The handsome man rushed forward and looked at Du Xiaofu, who had jumped into the heavenly pit with a gloomy expression. That brat is dead for sure. It's just a pity that he lost all his treasures. Zhao Lu was filled with hatred. She did not expect that Du Xiaofu would actually turn his back on her. It's good that he's dead. After all, the Qianyang dragon subduing art has disappeared and is no longer a threat to us. The handsome man sneered. That's all we can do. However, those treasures are all precious treasures. There's also that spirit thunder. I'm afraid that spirit thunder will also be devoured in the end. Zhao Lu was still reluctant to part with the treasures on Du Xiaofu's body. Her heart ached. Those treasures were all precious treasures, and it was difficult to find even one of them. Now that they had fallen into that place, they would most likely be destroyed. Swoosh swoosh, as Zhao Lu's voice faded, two figures landed. Their auras surged. It was Su Muxin and the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling. The two of them landed on the ground and looked at the seal array. Looking at Su Muxin and Tang Miling, Zhao Lu and the handsome man turned their heads and looked at each other. Their expressions changed slightly. Sect Master, shouldn't you explain why Du Xiaofu was able to escape? Zhao Lu looked at Su Muxin with a gloomy expression. That brat has some tricks up his sleeves. He can break the restriction and the talisman formation. You saw it just now. He can directly break the talisman formation and enter the forbidden area. Su Muxin said in a deep voice. She looked at the sinkhole with a strange look in her eyes. You want to shirk responsibility with just a few words. I'm afraid that's impossible. You should know how important the Qianyang subduing dragon art is to our Hehuan school. I don't know if you obtained the Qianyang subduing dragon art or if you purposely let that brat Du Xiaofu go. In short, as the supervisor, this matter is of great importance. I can't ignore it. Zhao Lu said to Su Muxin. Senior Sister Zhao, aren't you being a little too presumptuous in front of the sect leader? The smiling face of the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, suddenly turned gloomy and fierce. She was also a person who could turn hostile at a moment's notice. Tang Miling's nickname was the Laughing Rakshasa. Everyone in the Shang prefecture knew that she was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Tang Miling, you were the one who set up the restriction on Du Xiaofu. Now that Du Xiaofu has escaped, you can't get away with it. The Qianyang subduing dragon art is of great importance. This time, you'll be punished. Zhao Lu said in a gloomy voice. You, Tang Miling opened her mouth with a fierce expression. She seemed to want to argue, but Su Muxin stopped her. Su Muxin looked at Zhao Lu with an indifferent expression. Her voice was still charming as she said, I'll explain this matter to the elders. Senior Sister Zhao, you don't have to worry about it. That's good. I'll tell the elders. I hope Junior Brother Sect Master can explain it clearly. Otherwise, even if you're the Hehuan School's Sect Master, you'll still be punished. A cold glint flashed across Zhao Lu's eyes. She then signaled with her eyes and left with the handsome man and the two beautiful women. That kid has entered the forbidden area. That's a land of death. No one can subdue the terrifying thing inside, but no one is willing to give it up. Therefore, 2,000 years ago, all the 9-star talisman masters and martial domain realm experts of the Hehuan school worked together to seal it. Over the past 2,000 years, many experts of the Manchu have entered in an attempt to subdue that terrifying thing, but none of them came out. 500 years ago, a 9-star talisman master and a martial domain realm expert of the Hehuan school worked together to enter in an attempt to subdue that terrifying thing. In the end, they never came out. Only a few core people of the Manchu know about this. That's why we were able to escape the prying eyes of the outside world. Now that the kid has entered, I'm afraid he's dead for sure. The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, looked at the vast sinkhole with a grave expression. That kid is an anomaly. If he dares to enter, he must have something up his sleeve. Su Mushin's eyes glowed with a faint purple light in the night sky. How did that little bastard break the seal? He even ignored all the talisman arrays. That's too terrifying. Tang Miling was stunned and puzzled for a long time. To be able to break the seal and ignore all the talisman arrays, such a remarkable ability was simply abnormal. If I'm not wrong, it should have something to do with his mountain pulse spirit, said Su Mushin. Let's ignore that little bastard for now. I'm afraid that Zhao Lu will take this opportunity to cause trouble. The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, looked at Su Mushin with a grave expression. Su Mushin looked up slightly, her eyes glowing as she said softly, their purpose shouldn't be as simple as just causing trouble. This time, I'm afraid they've already made preparations. I just don't know how many people they've secretly gathered. Du Xiaofu jumped into the sinkhole with the mountain pulse spirit wrapped around him. After breaking through the talisman arrays, the mountain pulse spirit lost its effect. The air was filled with a destructive aura of thunder and lightning. The sinkhole was bottomless, as deep as a black hole. Du Xiaofu put away the mountain pulse spirit in his body and slowly descended. The vast sinkhole seemed to lead to the netherworld, and it was completely different from the one above. Several hundred meters below the ground, it was already quiet. There was no sound in the surroundings, and no aura could be sensed. In the end, there was fog lingering in the vast and deep space. The fog gushing out from the depths of the earth covered the space. It was vast and boundless, and one's vision was dim. No one knew how vast this space was. In the fog, a floating stone strangely appeared in the clouds, as if something was holding it up. Du Xiaofu landed, and the floating stone was as steady as a rock. Du Xiaofu looked around and probed with his mind. At this moment, the thunder martial vein seemed to have sensed something, but it had disappeared. This is the forbidden area of Hehuan school. No one should be able to enter. Du Xiaofu looked around. This was the forbidden area of Hehuan school. The aura was strange, and it was probably not a good place. Let's heal first. Sitting cross-legged, Du Xiaofu immediately began to breathe. The injuries on his body, and the thunder and lightning energy that he had devoured, needed to be dealt with. Only then could he deal with everything. As for the other problems, he would have to wait until he recovered before he could consider them. Walala, a moment later, Du Xiaofu's body was enveloped in a circle of golden light, and there was a faint bright yellow lightning flashing on his body. Time passed slowly. The next day, the news that the demon king Du Xiaofu had escaped spread out in Hehuan school. Immediately, the entire Hehuan school was in an uproar. That demon king is too terrifying. He can actually escape from the heaven-level prison. It is said that even the legendary martial domain realm experts can be imprisoned in that prison. I really don't know how that demon king cultivates. He's the same age as us, but he's so terrifying. I don't know where that demon king has escaped to. He won't attack us when the time comes, right? Other than the supreme elders, the sect master, and the sect supervisor, no one is a match for that demon king. In Hehuan school, the disciples discussed animatedly, and rumors spread everywhere. As for the elders of the all-pleasure sect, they did not show themselves. The atmosphere of the entire Hehuan school became tense for no reason, as if a storm was about to come. A few days later, on the floating stone in the vast space, the golden light enveloping Du Xiaofu's body became more and more resplendent. It emitted a domineering aura that spread out in the vast space. Chapter 1188. Amidst the faint golden halo, Du Xiaofu's body was still shrouded in bright yellow lightning arcs. At this moment, the bright yellow lightning arcs were unable to cause any substantial damage to Du Xiaofu's body, which had already been tempered by the purple-gold profound lightning from the purple lightning profound cauldron. Furthermore, Du Xiaofu still had the thunder martial vein in his body. As it absorbed the bright yellow lightning arcs, it was faintly strengthening. The strengthening of the thunder martial vein was far less effective than the previous time when he swallowed the silver net soul devouring lightning. However, Du Xiaofu could clearly feel that his thunder martial vein was actually strengthening. Qi La, at some point in time, yellow lightning arcs seeped out from the vast void. The yellow lightning arcs lit up the entire space, allowing people to see clearly that they were surrounded by a vast sea of underground clouds. In the center of the sea of clouds, there was a huge hole. It was bottomless, but it was not pitch black. Instead, it was filled with yellow light. The yellow lightning arcs rippled with a kind of heaviness and destruction, just like the earth. More and more yellow lightning arcs appeared, covering the entire vast space. The overflowing lightning arcs lit up the space brighter and brighter. Traces of destructive ripples spread out violently. On the floating rock, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged, enveloped by the golden halo. Du Xiaofu's eyes were tightly shut. Although he was doing breathing exercises to heal his injuries, his mind was the most clear at this moment. It spread out in all directions, and even the slightest ripples could not escape his senses. Chi. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu seemed to have felt something. In a short moment, his eyes suddenly opened. Two rays of golden light shot out, as if they had materialized. They shot out directly into the vast sea of clouds, and his figure disappeared from the floating rock. Bang! As Du Xiaofu's figure disappeared from where he was, the rock that he had just sat on was immediately struck by a resplendent arc of lightning. It shattered into pieces, and the surrounding space was blown to smithereens. Above the clouds, Du Xiaofu's body was wrapped in golden light. Golden light shot out from his eyes as he looked at the deep hole covered by the clouds. The yellow lightning arcs were everywhere, but the materialized lightning arcs just now had shot out from the deep hole. What a familiar aura! Du Xiaofu thought to himself as he looked at the deep hole. There was a faint crackling sound of thunder. The sound was like a tide, and it made Du Xiaofu frown. When the sound came, Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was. He could clearly feel his thunder martial vein was being affected by something. At this moment, even the silver net soul devouring lightning in Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit in the Naiwan palace in his mind began to fluctuate. Outside his Naiwan palace, the 3,000 jolting thunder soul seed left behind by Du Xiaofu's master, the weapon revered Xiaohu Fenglei, miraculously began to fluctuate. This doesn't seem normal, Du Xiaofu's frown deepened. He could clearly feel an extremely powerful energy fluctuating in the deep hole. That violent and destructive energy was able to affect Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and silver net soul devouring lightning. It was clearly related to thunder and lightning. To be able to possess such lightning energy that even Du Xiaofu was shocked by, it was not very likely that it was. Could it be? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's eyes trembled violently. He couldn't help but exclaim, could it be that there is a spirit thunder sealed by the Hehuan school symbol array? Roar! Just as Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the faint roar of a beast could be heard from the deep hole. The roar of the beast was extremely soft, as if it came from the depths of the ground. However, the soft sound was like a sudden clap of thunder when it entered one's ears. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was certain that the thing trapped by the Hehuan school's symbol array in the deep hole was definitely a terrifying thing. Even the experts of the Hehuan school were unable to do anything about it. Therefore, they could only trap it here. It was very likely that it was a powerful spirit thunder. Roar! At the same time, the roar of the beast could be heard again. At this moment, the roar was becoming more and more violent. It was as if a terrifying thing was about to rush out from the deep hole. Du Xiaofu floated in the air. He was enveloped in golden light. The golden rock wings on his back were activated in case of an emergency. His expression was solemn. Walala, as the roar of the beast resounded again, the overflowing yellow lightning arcs in the vast sea of clouds became even more resplendent. In a short period of time, the entire space began to ripple with a violent and majestic destructive energy. The yellow lightning arcs in the surroundings whistled and mixed with the fluctuations of the sea of clouds. It was as if waves were rolling up. That destructive power seemed to want to destroy this space as well. Spirit thunder. This is a spirit thunder. This place is trapping a spirit thunder. Du Xiaofu was finally certain. His face immediately turned ashen. That familiar energy fluctuation, through the lightning martial vein and the silver gauze soul devouring lightning in his body, allowed Du Xiaofu to be certain that this place was trapping a spirit thunder. Moreover, it was an absolutely powerful spirit thunder. This is not good. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and clenched his fists. If he went out, he was afraid that the experts of the Hehuan school would be waiting for him. However, he was afraid that he would have to face a powerful spirit thunder. Du Xiaofu knew that this was a desperate situation. Sizzle, in the vast sea of clouds, the yellow lightning arcs became more and more resplendent and surged violently. Waves of violent and destructive energy filled the air. Roar, suddenly, the bright yellow lightning arcs rushed out from the deep hole in the space. As the yellow lightning arcs splashed into the sky, the roar of a beast was heard. Suddenly, a lightning-type exotic beast whose entire body was covered in bright and transparent yellow electric arcs and whose head was like a python's appeared in front of Du Xiaofu's astonished eyes in a terrifying manner, bringing with it a sky full of bright yellow electric arcs and the destructive lightning energy that shook the space around it. The exotic beast rushed out. It was so huge that it seemed to have been imprisoned for countless years. It raised its head like a giant dragon and soared into the sky. A terrifying sound wave of the beast's roar spread out from its ferocious mouth like a thunderclap. Roar, the sound wave of the exotic beast's roar was enough to shatter the vital spirit of a martial venerable expert above the transcendent level. Rumble, the roar made the vast sea of lightning arcs and clouds around them seem to have been suddenly thrown into countless bombs. The sound of thunder resounded continuously in the space. Lightning arcs overflowed and dazzling lightning runes surged wildly. As the exotic beast rushed out, Du Xiaofu saw that it was actually a giant tortoise. When its head rushed out, it looked like a giant python or a giant dragon. The giant yellow lightning tortoise was thousands of feet in size and covered the entire space. The giant lightning tortoise rushed out. Its eyes, which were filled with yellow lightning arcs, stared at Du Xiaofu with a destructive aura. Being stared at by the giant lightning tortoise, Du Xiaofu couldn't help sweating all over. When the tortoise stared at him with its ferocious eyes, Du Xiaofu felt as if two giant lightning black holes had descended and shrouded him. It was as if his entire body had been scanned from the inside out, making it difficult for him to hide anything. You actually have two types of spirit lightning in your body. The heavens are really helping me. Once I devour those two types of spirit lightning, the symbol array will no longer be able to trap me. Once I break free, I will definitely destroy the Hehuan school to make up for the hatred of being trapped. The giant yellow lightning tortoise spoke in human language. Its voice was like a thunderclap. Its ferocious eyes stared fiercely at Du Xiaofu. There was only madness and destruction in its eyes. When the giant tortoise's voice faded, an extremely violent energy fluctuation spread out from its huge body. Qi La, the giant lightning tortoise's ferocious head, which was like a giant python flying dragon, directly charged at Du Xiaofu. It wanted to devour Du Xiaofu. When the terrifying energy rushed over, it immediately froze the surrounding space. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit also felt a chill. At this moment, he couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Tyrannical Sword Path. Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu directly summoned the purple gold heavenly tower. He activated the tyrannical sword path and slashed out with all his strength. Chapter 1189. Qi La, the sword aura tore through the air and instantly collided with the lightning tortoise's head. The lightning tortoise was not afraid at all. It directly spat out a dazzling bolt of lightning from its mouth, destroying Du Xiaofu's sword aura. The lightning tortoise's ferocious head was faster than lightning. It instantly covered a large area of the void. Like a python pouncing on its prey, it bit down on the space around Du Xiaofu. Not good, Du Xiaofu was shocked. This lightning tortoise was much more terrifying than he had imagined. Qi La, the purple gold heavenly tower in his hand, turned into a purple gold ribbon and flew out with all his might. The golden rock wings on his back flapped with all their might. Du Xiaofu activated the rock descends to the 9 heavens, carrying the domineering will of the golden-winged rock race, and broke free from the spatial restraints brought by the lightning tortoise. Roar! At the same time, Du Xiaofu let out a roar that sounded like a dragon roaring to the 9 heavens and a divine elephant trumpeting. It was as if heavenly thunder had exploded in the space, and a loud bang reverberated in the mouth of the lightning tortoise. Waves of sound waves spread out like waves of air, shaking the space and distorting it intensely. Qi La, using the force of the sound waves to push back, Du Xiaofu instantly retreated with lightning speed with the help of the sound waves. This roar was like a dragon roaring to the 9 heavens and a divine elephant trumpeting. It contained the power to move mountains and overturn seas. It was enough to make mountains collapse and the earth crack, destroying everything. It was Du Xiaofu's domineering way that contained a domineering martial intent. The sound waves swept out, creating a strange sound of wind and thunder. It was like the rumbling of heavenly thunder, and it also shattered the space in the giant tortoise's mouth. A large area of yellow lightning arcs was also destroyed by the sound waves. Qi La, everything happened in the blink of an eye. Du Xiaofu's figure immediately broke free from the giant lightning tortoise's ferocious mouth before it completely closed. Purple gold heavenly tower, domineering sword path, rock descends to the 9 heavens, domineering fist path. After using all the trump cards he could use, Du Xiaofu only barely escaped. It was clear how terrifying the lightning tortoise was. PFFF, although he managed to escape, the heavenly palace of purple gold had already been devoured. When Du Xiaofu tried to control the heavenly palace of purple gold with his mind, he discovered that the heavenly palace of purple gold had already been enveloped by the giant lightning tortoise. A terrifying destructive force of lightning swept over his mind, causing Du Xiaofu's mind to almost sever its connection with the heavenly palace of purple gold. Faint golden blood immediately flowed out of his mouth. "We've gone too far this time." Du Xiaofu's expression was grave. That resplendent yellow lightning tortoise was too terrifying. It was many times stronger than the silver sieve-souled devouring lightning. Roar! After the giant lightning tortoise turned its ferocious head around, it let out a thunderous roar as it did not directly devour the human in front of it. Its eyes were filled with an ominous glint as it stared fixedly at Du Xiaofu with an expression of absolute greed. He looked like a venomous snake pouncing on its prey, waiting for another effective strike. "This spiritual lightning wants to devour me." Du Xiaofu's face was gloomy. The greedy look in the lightning tortoise's eyes clearly indicated that it wanted to devour him directly. It wanted the 3,000 vibrating lightning soul seed and the silver sieve-souled devouring lightning in his body. With the silver sieve-souled devouring lightning in his body, Du Xiaofu's understanding of spiritual lightning had increased by a lot. Spiritual lightning was a kind of foreign object in this world that was born between heaven and earth. It was a foreign object in this world that was extremely rare. All spiritual lightning might have different abilities and characteristics, but they all had one thing in common, and that was that any kind of spiritual lightning possessed a terrifying power. This was something that Du Xiaofu could clearly understand from the silver sieve-souled devouring lightning and his master's 3,000 vibrating lightning. As a foreign object in this world, spiritual lightning knew to devour the energy it needed to strengthen itself even if it had not been born for long and had yet to gain intelligence. Devouring other types of spiritual lightning was even more beneficial. If one type of spiritual lightning could devour another type of spiritual lightning, it would undergo a qualitative change. It would possess the abilities of the two types of spiritual lightning and its strength would increase tremendously. Du Xiaofu looked at the lightning tortoise in front of him. It was formed by spiritual lightning. At this moment, this spiritual lightning was clearly targeting the two types of spiritual lightning in his body, making him its prey. However, he was afraid that he would not be able to escape. Du Xiaofu's golden wings slowly flapped behind him as he retreated. He wanted to find a chance to escape. At the very least, he had to get as far away as possible. Otherwise, once the lightning tortoise attacked again, he was afraid that he would not have the chance to escape. Just as Du Xiaofu's figure was about to retreat, the huge lightning tortoise had already sensed it. It immediately lifted its head and yellow lightning exploded from its huge body. The head, which was like a giant python flying dragon, rushed towards Du Xiaofu again. Du Xiaofu looked at the lightning tortoise that launched another attack. A terrifying sense of oppression had already solidified the vast void. A destructive and majestic energy rushed towards him, causing his soul to tremble. Roar! The yellow lightning tortoise roared, and the sound waves distorted the space. The destructive lightning energy first penetrated the space and enveloped Du Xiaofu. Boom! Du Xiaofu moved. A silver-white arc of lightning burst out from between his eyebrows in an instant. A silver lightning arc immediately overflowed in all directions. The silver lightning arc soared into the sky and instantly turned into a silver-white lightning tree that was more than 100 feet tall. The silver-white lightning tree was condensed from silver lightning, causing the surrounding sea of yellow lightning arcs to be separated into a sea of silver lightning. A terrifying pressure descended. Silver lightning fluctuated, and the aura was terrifying. In an instant, under a shocking explosion of heavenly thunder, the huge silver lightning tree and the ferocious head of the huge lightning tortoise violently collided. Immediately, the rumbling sound of heavenly thunder resounded endlessly in this vast space. Rumble, the thunder resounded, and the space exploded. The sky was filled with yellow and silver lightning arcs. The terrifying energy surged in the vast sky, and there was only destruction. However, the silver lightning tree began to crumble. It could not withstand the destructive and violent yellow lightning. Roar! In such a terrifying collision, the huge lightning tortoise's ferocious head was not affected much. Looking at the silver lightning, the lightning tortoise's eyes became even more ferocious and greedy. It rushed out again and pounced towards Du Xiaofu. Evil creature! Du Xiaofu cursed loudly, but he was complaining in his heart. His golden eyes were suddenly suffused with a kind of purple thunder light. He condensed a hand seal, and his whole body was immediately covered with a purple thunder light talisman pattern. Suddenly, with Du Xiaofu's body as the center, purple lightning appeared in the void, and instantly covered the entire sky. Boom! A large amount of purple lightning gathered, and in an instant, the vast space trembled violently. As if it felt something, the lightning tortoise that was rushing out suddenly paused. Its ferocious eyes looked around, as if it was searching for something. Boom! Du Xiaofu activated the lightning martial vein in his body, and purple lightning arcs spread out from the surface of his body. Lightning swept across the sky like a rainstorm, and purple silver snakes flashed in the void. A murderous aura spread out. It was not austere, but it showed the majesty of creation and the righteousness of heaven and earth. This purple lightning was as strong as yang, and it could sweep across the sky and punish all living things. At this moment, the lightning tortoise's eyes locked onto Du Xiaofu's body, and it trembled slightly. However, in the next moment, a huge yellow lightning bolt violently spewed out from the lightning tortoise's ferocious mouth, and swept towards Du Xiaofu. Dazzling yellow lightning energy ribbons streaked across the space like a golden lightning bolt. The traces of space were automatically separated. In Du Xiaofu's palm, purple gold lightning gathered, and with an even more terrifying pressure, collided violently. In an instant, the two lightning bolts collided, and the lightning energy exploded, like a bright firework, bursting into the sky. Rumble, dazzling yellow lightning and purplish gold lightning filled the air. This kind of collision caused thunderous explosions to resound in the air. Du Xiaofu activated the purple gold lightning energy, and the pressure was obviously stronger. However, in terms of aura, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein was forcibly suppressed and destroyed by the yellow lightning. Sizzle, Du Xiaofu's body was directly pushed back, and the collision of energy caused him to spit out a mouthful of pale golden blood. Chapter 1190. Roar, however, before he could stabilize his body, the ferocious head of the large yellow lightning tortoise suddenly appeared in the sky. Qi La. An even more resplendent and destructive yellow lightning energy erupted from Du Xiaofu's body from the mouth of the giant lightning tortoise. Your body is very strange. I feel that it is even more beneficial to me than the two spirit lightnings. The heavens are really helping me. The giant lightning tortoise roared. The resplendent and destructive yellow lightning had already arrived in front of Du Xiaofu in an instant. Do you really think that I am easy to devour? Du Xiaofu was also enraged. As he roared, although his body had not stabilized, a purple gold flowing light had already shot out from his palm. In an instant, it transformed into a huge three-legged cauldron that covered the vast space. Boom! In an instant, the lightning space violently trembled as purple gold thunderclouds gathered out of thin air. As lightning flashed and thunder roared, a large patch of purple gold lightning hovered in the sky with an aura of destruction. Qi La La, large patches of purple gold lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs had exploded in the void of this deep pit. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had no other choice but to activate his final trump card, the purple lightning profound cauldron. The purple gold profound lightning was like the king of lightning. The pressure that emanated from the purple gold profound lightning was not something that ordinary spirit lightnings could compare to. In an instant, the purple gold profound lightning surged out from the purple lightning profound cauldron, transforming into a huge purple gold lightning vortex that directly swallowed the yellow lightning that was rushing towards Du Xiaofu. The resplendent yellow lightning was very powerful and violent. At this moment, even Du Xiaofu, who had activated his lightning martial vein, could not suppress it. However, at this moment, the resplendent yellow lightning energy was directly absorbed into the purple gold profound lightning vortex below the purple lightning profound cauldron. This did not mean that Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein was inferior to the purple lightning profound cauldron. Instead, it was because Du Xiaofu's strength was not enough. The power of the lightning martial vein was far from the level that it should be. Of course, with Du Xiaofu's current strength, the power of the purple lightning profound cauldron could not reach the level that it should be. However, the purple lightning profound cauldron was able to directly absorb the yellow lightning energy. With the help of the purple lightning profound cauldron, the lightning profound and profound purple lightning, could directly devour the yellow lightning. At this moment, the giant lightning tortoise seemed to have sensed something as well. Its ferocious eyes rippled, and its huge body rippled violently, causing bright yellow lightning to overflow in all directions in this vast space. Lightning runes rippled in the air, as if they had turned into a resplendent yellow lightning pool. Keep. Seeing that the purple lightning profound cauldron had already taken effect, Du Xiaofu fully activated the purple lightning profound cauldron. The purple gold lightning vortex was like a terrifying purple gold black hole, swallowing and spitting out a huge suction force that directly pulled the yellow lightning into the purple lightning profound cauldron. Walala, the resplendent yellow lightning pool seemed to be pulled by some invisible force and uncontrollably rushed towards the purple lightning profound cauldron. The violent and destructive yellow lightning disappeared the moment it came into contact with the purple gold profound lightning vortex. It immediately disappeared into the purple lightning profound cauldron. Rumble, the void trembled violently. It was so deafening that it caused pain in one's eardrums and made one's mind dizzy. Countless yellow lightning bolts flashed. The huge yellow lightning bolts danced wildly and rushed towards the purple lightning profound cauldron. At this moment, the purple lightning profound cauldron was like a bottomless pit. It pulled the yellow lightning in and did not move at all. What is that? This change caused the giant lightning tortoise's eyes to be filled with fear. The huge lightning tortoise's body moved horizontally and exploded with huge yellow lightning bolts that covered the sky. It was like a heavenly thunder erupting, pressing towards the purple lightning profound cauldron. Devour, Du Xiaofu shouted and poured all the profound qi in his body into the purple lightning profound cauldron. Du Xiaofu fully activated the purple lightning profound cauldron. It was like countless purple gold spiritual snakes were shuttling through the void. The purple gold profound lightning vortex continued to devour the violent yellow lightning energy. Rumble. The purple gold lightning vortex in the purple lightning profound cauldron devoured the violent yellow lightning. Large amounts of purple gold lightning spread out from the vortex and a rumbling sound reverberated in the air. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was not feeling well either. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth. The purple lightning profound cauldron exploded and absorbed all the profound qi in his god's watchtower. This consumption was huge. Du Xiaofu had already used up a lot of profound qi. Originally, Du Xiaofu's injuries had not fully recovered and he could not hold on for a while. The lightning tortoise was too strong. The purple gold profound lightning under the purple lightning profound cauldron was unable to support Du Xiaofu's profound qi, and its power had decreased significantly. Puny human, it turns out that you are not strong enough. The lightning tortoise felt this change. Its fierce eyes shot out lightning and yellow lightning bolts across the sky. It was as if countless bombs had exploded. The destructive power kept attacking the purple lightning profound cauldron. Go all out and give it your all. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth. He took out a large amount of spiritual herbs and heavenly treasures from his cosmos bag and stuffed them into his mouth. After swallowing the large amount of heavenly treasures and spiritual herbs, Du Xiaofu used the golden winged rock technique to refine them and turn them into profound qi to support the purple lightning profound cauldron. Outside, the lightning tortoise was suppressing him. Inside, the heavenly treasures and spiritual herbs had turned into energy surging. Du Xiaofu did not feel good. If it was an ordinary transcendent martial venerable, he would have been played to death by him. However, Du Xiaofu had already given it his all, but it was still difficult for him to resist the lightning tortoise. Pooh! The earth-shattering yellow lightning bolts pressed down and shattered the void, causing the purple lightning profound cauldron in Du Xiaofu to be pushed back. There are many treasures, but they are still too weak. After I devour you and obtain this treasure, no one in this world will be able to do anything to me. The lightning tortoise roared loudly and thunder pressed down on the sky. It could feel that the three-legged cauldron was also a treasure. The aura on the human's body and the two spiritual thunders seemed to have been prepared for it. Once it obtained it, no one in this world would be able to do anything to it. Du Xiaofu waved his sleeve and wiped the blood from his mouth. The lightning martial veins on his body were attracted by the yellow lightning and were about to erupt. Humph! At this moment, Du Xiaofu let out a deep snort and suddenly made a shocking decision. He clenched his teeth slightly, and his body directly soared into the sky and collided with the giant lightning tortoise, allowing himself to be immersed in the monstrous and resplendent yellow lightning. Rumble! Yellow lightning swept up, exploding with the sound of thunder. Under that terrifying force, Du Xiaofu could not help but spit out a mouthful of pale golden blood. The pale golden blood immediately turned into smoke in the lightning, and his body was about to explode into ashes in an instant. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins seemed to have been provoked. An even more punishing pressure swept out. The lightning martial veins contained the supreme power of lightning that could not be provoked. In an instant, it devoured the yellow lightning into its body. The purple thunder profound cauldron seemed to have sensed that Du Xiaofu's qi had been exhausted. It began to break away from Du Xiaofu's control and began to devour the yellow lightning on its own. Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins were also provoked. The most majestic and domineering killing pressure surged in the sky. The ancient pressure spread out from Du Xiaofu's body. The soul-shaking aura was still spreading in the vast space far away. At this moment, the two types of lightning energy collided. Du Xiaofu's clothes were directly destroyed and he began to be naked. However, his body was wrapped in the bright purple lightning and yellow lightning. He was wrapped in dazzling lightning runes and gradually became a huge lightning ball in the void. At this moment, under the devouring of Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins and purple thunder profound cauldron, the bright lightning on the lightning giant tortoise's body was finally devoured to a terrifying extent. Fear appeared in the lightning giant tortoise's fierce eyes again. Unknowingly, the lightning giant tortoise found that it had fallen into a situation where it could not escape. What a strange human! How can this be? At that moment, the lightning tortoise seemed to have sensed something. Its gigantic tortoise body began to crumble, and bolts of yellow lightning were devoured uncontrollably. They landed in the three-legged cauldron and the strange human's body. Sizzle, the lightning giant tortoise became smaller and smaller as yellow lightning burst out. However, it could not stop the strange human and the three-legged cauldron from devouring it. Impossible! How can this human suppress me with such little strength? The lightning giant tortoise roared and released a terrifying energy. It wanted to forcefully destroy this space. At this moment, even if there were experts at the peak of the Nirvana realm, once they touched this terrifying destructive lightning, they would be directly destroyed. However, the lightning giant tortoise was unable to break free from the double suppression of the purple thunder profound cauldron and Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins. The lightning giant tortoise was suppressed by the purple thunder profound cauldron. The purple gold profound cauldron erupted and devoured it crazily. Bang, bang, bang. The lightning giant tortoise began to collapse and the bright yellow lightning in the vast space around it had been devoured. Human, do you want to devour me? Even the martial domain realm is not enough. You are courting death. Suddenly, an exceptionally bright yellow lightning flashed out of the shattered lightning tortoise's body. It actually broke free from the purple gold profound bomb's binding and devouring. With an incomparably terrifying speed, it directly appeared in the bright lightning ball that surrounded Du Xiaofu's body. Swoosh! The brightest yellow lightning burst out with the most destructive and violent aura. After it entered the lightning ball, it broke free from the binding of Du Xiaofu's lightning martial veins and went straight into Du Xiaofu's glabella. At this moment, the bright yellow lightning entered Du Xiaofu's glabella. Qi La, a monstrous aura that could destroy one's primordial spirit swept out in Du Xiaofu's mind and attacked Du Xiaofu's entire body. A thunderous roar resounded in Du Xiaofu's mind, puny human, you are courting death. I will destroy your primordial spirit and I will be you. Everything will be mine. Walala, suddenly, the Naiwan palace in Du Xiaofu's mind seemed to have sensed this wild and violent destructive energy. A dazzling symbol rune flickered as it emitted an ancient and mysterious aura. In an instant, it transformed into waves of frightening energy that directly covered the resplendent yellow lightning. Roar! The bright yellow lightning burst out and turned into a ferocious lightning tortoise's head. It wanted to break free from the talisman rune's cover. Boom! The dazzling talisman rune emitted a bright divine light and a supreme aura spread. It wanted to suppress the world and destroy everything that came in from the outside. Roar! The lightning tortoise roared and released a terrifying aura to resist the cover of the dazzling talisman rune. The two of them were in a deadlock. Chapter 1191. The lightning turtle was the soul seed of the yellow lightning spirit lightning, and the dazzling talisman was the spirit root that existed in Du Xiaofu's mind. Du Xiaofu still remembered that the last time the silver-net soul-devouring lightning spirit root entered his mind, it was immediately suppressed and eventually destroyed by the spirit root. However, it was different this time. This spirit lightning spirit root was far more powerful than the silver-net soul-devouring lightning spirit root. The spirit root could temporarily suppress it, but in the end, it could only remain in a stalemate and could not destroy the spirit lightning spirit root. Exhausted, his body was extremely weak. The terrifying destructive power of the lightning was still attacking his body, making Du Xiaofu suffer unspeakably. While the spirit root and the lightning turtle in Du Xiaofu's Naiwan palace were in a stalemate, the lightning and thunder in the vast sealed space gradually disappeared. The shocking destructive aura dissipated, and everything seemed to have returned to its original state. Even in this vast underground space, the purple thunder profound cauldron had calmed down after swallowing the yellow lightning in this space. Then, the purple thunder profound cauldron floated beside Du Xiaofu without releasing any aura. Could it be that the terrifying thing is unwilling to give up and wants to break through the talisman array again? Outside the deep pit, the terrifying commotion also shook the talisman array outside, attracting several hidden auras to spy on it. I heard them say that the demon king, Du Xiaofu, escaped into the talisman array by himself. It's probably destroyed by the terrifying thing. It's a pity that the Qianyang subduing dragon technique is not real. Another voice was transmitted over and quietly landed. However, the voice did not spread and could only be heard by the few people who had arrived with concealed auras. That terrifying thing has become more and more violent recently. I don't know how long this talisman array can trap it. It's getting stronger and stronger, and it's getting more and more impossible to merge with it. Someone sighed. It's no longer a question of whether or not we can merge with it. That terrifying thing has been trapped for 2,000 years, and its heart is filled with hatred. Once it escapes, it will definitely go on a killing spree. I'm afraid our Hehuan school will be destroyed. Someone's voice was low and worried. The space in the deep pit returned to normal and became abnormally quiet. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu, who was floating in the sea of clouds in the deep pit, was not calm. His body was wrapped in purple gold lightning and filled with yellow electric arcs. As the aura on his body became weaker and weaker, the spirit root in Du Xiaofu's mind flew out on its own. However, its aura also became weaker and weaker. This spirit root was not under Du Xiaofu's control at all. Pain. His primordial spirit was in intense pain. His body was also in intense pain that went deep into his bones. The aura of the spirit root grew weaker and weaker, and in the midst of the stalemate between the lightning tortoise and the lightning tortoise, it was on the verge of dissipating, and its radiance had also dimmed. Yellow lightning arcs began to break through the restraint of the spirit root and gradually struck Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Although Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit was blocked by the silver net soul devouring lightning, the intense pain in his Yuan spirit was unbearable for Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu gradually fainted and lost consciousness. In Shangzhou, the news of Du Xiaofu causing trouble in the Hehuan school gradually spread. Du Xiaofu caused trouble in the Hehuan school in front of tens of thousands of Hehuan school students. The Hehuan school could not hide it even if they wanted to. Among the tens of thousands of Hehuan school students, there might be spies from other forces. The leader of the 12 godly heroes, the number one of the younger generation in Kyushu, appeared in the Hehuan school. He caused a huge commotion in the Hehuan school and was trapped in the Hehuan school in the end. When this news spread, it immediately shocked everyone. Somewhere in Shangzhou, the mountains stood tall and straight. The 4 seasons were bright, as if they could set an example for all eternity and enlighten all living things. The mountains were full of green and green. The brown cliffs were like sharp swords that pointed to the sky. The most eye-catching thing was a tall mountain that pierced through the clouds. It stood among the mountains like a peerless divine sword that had fallen to the mortal world. It was surrounded by clouds and mist. At the foot of the mountain, tall red maple trees stood tall. They had luxuriant branches and leaves, as if they were covered with red clouds. In the morning, the mountains were as black as iron. As the red sun rose, the tall mountain that looked like a peerless divine sword turned inky blue. Soon after, mist arose. The red maple trees that covered the entire mountain were dyed crimson by the multicolored light. Gradually, they turned into a bronze color, appearing exceptionally magnificent. I have already acknowledged the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, as the leader of the 12 godly heroes in the Tianhuang continent. This matter has something to do with me. I have to go to the Hehuan school. On the mountain peak, a man walked out of the sky. He was 25 or 26 years old. His body was filled with simple and elegant runes that were like mist. He was extraordinarily handsome and his robes were embroidered with sword patterns. That Demon King, Du Xiaofu, is currently being searched for by the devil religion. The dragons and that hidden family will probably not let him go either. Right now, Shangzhou is in troubled times. Evil spirits are breeding. If we are not careful, we may bring a great calamity to our Saman sword sect. A middle-aged man who seemed to be over 50 years old but still looked rather young said to the extraordinary youth. He wore a long robe with sword patterns. His eyes seemed to flash with sword light that was sharp and fierce. On Tianhuang continent, he does not fear the hidden family, the dragons, or the devil religion. If I fear him now, I probably will not have the qualifications to chase after him in the future, let alone surpass him. The extraordinary youth turned his head and looked at the middle-aged man, saying, "Father, the Saman sword sect will be in my hands in the future. If I fear the slightest thing, how will I lead the Saman sword sect in the future?" The middle-aged man stared at the extraordinary young man. A moment later, he spoke, "Go on. You will become the kind of person you are with. Devil King Du Xiaofu, that brat, seems to be pretty good. For people like him, if anyone lent him a helping hand when he was in trouble, he would always remember it in his heart. When he rises up in the 9 prefectures one day, he would never forget you." The middle-aged man paused for a moment. He looked at the extraordinary youth and continued to ask, "But I want to know, do you see him as a friend or an opponent?" The extraordinary youth raised his eyes slightly and looked at the rising sun. He stood with his hands behind his back and said, "He is a friend and half an opponent. Although we have not interacted much, he is worthy of my pursuit. You have grown up." The middle-aged man smiled and looked at the extraordinary youth. He patted his shoulder lightly and said, "Remember, when you go to the Hehuan school, you will represent the Saman sword sect. After this matter, the election of the alliance leader of the Purifying Evil Alliance in Shangzhou will be a competition between the younger generation. It is also your responsibility. Don't worry. I, Mu Jianchen, will definitely be the alliance leader of the Purifying Evil Alliance." The extraordinary young man smiled. The sharp look in his eyes revealed a strong sense of self-confidence. When Du Xiaofu woke up and opened his eyes, he found himself in a sea of resplendent yellow lightning. The surroundings were like a sea of yellow lightning that flowed with destructive energy. Du Xiaofu looked around in the resplendent and slow lightning arcs. Only then did he realize that his body was still wrapped by the thunder martial vein. The thunder martial vein was resisting the destruction of the yellow lightning around him. There were a few Qiankuan bags beside him that were enveloped by the thunder martial vein, which prevented them from being destroyed. Purple Gold Heavenly Palace. Not far away, Du Xiaofu saw that the purple gold heavenly palace, which had been engulfed by the spiritual thunder, was now bound in the sea of lightning. At this moment, the purple gold heavenly palace was surrounded by the shadows of the soaring dragon, the leaping tiger, the coiling turtle, and the flying phoenix, which were resisting the destruction of the resplendent yellow lightning arcs. This should be the lair of the spiritual thunder. It didn't take long for Du Xiaofu to understand. It seemed that he had been brought to the lair of the spiritual thunder. With a sharp pain in his mind, Du Xiaofu then peeped into his mind. He was surprised to find that the 3,000 jolting thunder soul seed left by his master, the venerable equipment master, had turned into a sea of flaming lightning that directly burned and bound the thunder turtle, resisting the impact of the thunder turtle. It was not difficult for Du Xiaofu to know that the aura of the thunder turtle was endless, but the 3,000 jolting thunder soul seed was being consumed. He didn't know how long the 3,000 jolting thunder soul seed had lasted, but Du Xiaofu felt that it wouldn't be able to last much longer. In the Mud Pill Palace, the spiritual root talisman's secret inscriptions finally dimmed and wrapped around the primordial spirit. The silver net-souled devouring thunder had already merged with the primordial spirit and was difficult to resist at this moment. Although he had woken up, Du Xiaofu was still in a desperate situation. I can't just sit and wait for death. I can't just die like this. Although his heart was heavy and he knew what kind of desperate situation he was in, Du Xiaofu gradually suppressed the panic and thoughts in his heart. The most important thing now was to find a way to escape. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, he couldn't give up. Chapter 1192. Where's the purple lightning profound cauldron? Du Xiaofu first thought of the purple lightning profound cauldron. If he hid in the purple lightning profound cauldron, he might still have a chance to protect himself. As he probed with his consciousness, he was immediately attacked by the surrounding yellow lightning sea. Du Xiaofu had no idea where the purple lightning profound cauldron was. It was as if he was isolated from everything inside. I can't just wait for death. Du Xiaofu said in a deep voice. Purple lightning flashed in his eyes. There were still many things he had yet to do. There was still his mother, sister, and drunkard father. He had yet to reunite with his family. He had yet to take revenge for Tianwu Academy and the 7-star Hall. There was still Qingqing. I can't die here. Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth. His eyes were filled with determination and stubbornness. It was just like when he was in front of the ancient stone tablet in the Du family. Even if he was mocked by everyone as a fool, he still insisted on comprehending the stone tablet. Therefore, Du Xiaofu began to think of all the possibilities. He had not been destroyed yet because of his lightning martial vein, his spirit root, and the 3,000 jolting lightning soul seed left behind by his master, the revered equipment master. Therefore, he could only rely on these three methods to escape. His heart was filled with stubbornness and determination. However, reality was cruel. Just as Du Xiaofu was thinking of a solution, the 3,000 jolting lightning soul seed retreated. It seemed to have used up a lot of energy and immediately retreated to the side to seek self-protection. Roar! Suddenly, without the restraint of the 3,000 jolting lightning soul seed, the lightning turtle roared. Yellow lightning flashed in its eyes. With a greedy gaze, it pounced on Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Previously, Du Xiaofu could still endure the intense pain in his primordial spirit and body. However, at this moment, without the help of the 3,000 jolting lightning, the intense pain immediately intensified by who knew how many times, causing Du Xiaofu to immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit was covered in the dim light of the spirit root, which was the final barrier, allowing Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit to resist for a short while. However, if that spirit root were to dissipate, there would be no way to stop it. Once his primordial spirit was destroyed by the spirit lightning soul seed, Du Xiaofu knew that he would die and would no longer exist in this world. The thunder martial vein could barely protect his physical body, but it could not enter his Naiwan palace to protect his primordial spirit. We can't go on like this. It's good to buy some time. Du Xiaofu made a decision. Silver lightning bolts shot out from his primordial spirit and turned into a tree of silver lightning bolts to assist his spiritual root in resisting the lightning tortoise. Du Xiaofu was unable to control his spirit root, so he could only control his primordial spirit, which was equivalent to controlling the silver net-souled devouring lightning. With the help of the silver lightning tree, Du Xiaofu clearly felt a lot more relaxed, but he was afraid that he would not be able to hold on for much longer. After doing all this, Du Xiaofu struggled to get up from the yellow lightning sea and sat cross-legged in the sea of lightning. Feeling the torturous pain both inside and outside, Du Xiaofu's pale lips were dry and chapped. He muttered softly, "Is there really no other way this time?" Time passed slowly, and Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and endured. Under such painful torture, being trapped in the sea of lightning, he had lost the concept of time. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was not in the mood to pay attention to time. In the vast sea of lightning, he was the only one who existed. Being tortured by such inhumane pain made him feel an indescribable loneliness deep in his heart. This kind of loneliness could devour a person's heart. Those with weak wills would probably be defeated by this kind of pain. Crackle, in the sea of lightning, only the crackling sound of the electric arcs could be heard. The vast expanse of time seemed to have no end. He did not know how long all this pain and suffering would last. This was a kind of painful torture for Du Xiaofu's soul and spirit. It was enough to make him go crazy. "I can't die. I definitely can't die." Du Xiaofu muttered to himself and persevered with the stubborn belief in his heart. However, under such perseverance, Du Xiaofu did not know how long he had persevered. Du Xiaofu felt that the thunder martial vein in his body was gradually unable to hold on. It was not that the thunder martial vein was not strong enough, but that the yellow lightning outside was too strong. It was forcing the thunder martial vein to retreat. If the thunder martial vein had not been able to absorb lightning energy on its own and replenish its consumption for its own use, Du Xiaofu felt that the thunder martial vein would have been forced back long ago. However, under such circumstances, Du Xiaofu felt a subtle feeling in this lonely time. The thunder martial vein had originally absorbed the yellow lightning. At this moment it was continuously absorbing it over a long period of time. It seemed to be undergoing a transformation as it was being forced back. The thunder martial vein was resisting the yellow lightning mechanically. It was also devouring the yellow lightning mechanically. It seemed to be transforming on its own, becoming stronger and stronger. This feeling was extremely subtle. If it had not been for this lonely time and space, Du Xiaofu would not have been able to sense it. His body was in excruciating pain, as if it was being burned by a raging fire. Du Xiaofu felt that his body had finally started to crack. Everything started to weaken. Du Xiaofu's mind started to weaken. Deep in his heart, a kind of powerless exhaustion welled up. The thunder turtle seemed to be able to detect any minute changes in Du Xiaofu. At this moment, it felt that Du Xiaofu's aura was weakening and even intensified its attacks. Walala, the monstrous yellow lightning kept attacking Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace. It kept attacking the spiritual root and the silver lightning tree, which were getting weaker and weaker. During this period of time, Du Xiaofu's silver lightning tree and the spiritual root that was resisting by itself became weaker and weaker. In the end, it was difficult for them to hold on. However, during this process, there seemed to be some unexpected changes. Unknowingly, the silver lightning tree and the talisman engravings on the spiritual root light net started to show signs of merging. At this moment, the destructive power of the thunder turtle's upper destruction was about to destroy Du Xiaofu's spiritual root and primordial spirit. However, it was like a big furnace that merged Du Xiaofu's spiritual root and the silver lightning tree on his primordial spirit. They merged quietly amidst the destructive power. This merging was very slow, but the signs were there. In the end, it would only take time for them to truly fuse together. Of course, the Thunder Turtle's soul seed did not know that it had helped Du Xiaofu a lot because of it. In the future, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit would be able to defy the natural order, and it would definitely be related to the Thunder Turtle soul seed. Compared to Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, the situation was the same. However, Du Xiaofu's physical body was much more miserable. Du Xiaofu's physical body was already cracking. Even with the indestructible Xian body and the golden-winged Great Rock's body, it was difficult for him to withstand the destructive power of the yellow lightning. Walala, as his physical body started to crack, Du Xiaofu's appearance became extremely frightening. His body was covered in pale golden blood. The boiling pale golden blood, along with the talisman engravings, spread out and dyed Du Xiaofu into a blood man. Du Xiaofu's bones and muscles were also distorted. If he was an ordinary Nirvana martial sovereign, he would have been directly destroyed. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's indestructible Xian body and the golden-winged Great Rock's body played a huge role in this desperate situation. Although his physical body was also cracking, at least Du Xiaofu could still barely hold on. Sensing that Du Xiaofu's physical body was cracking and that his primordial spirit could no longer hold on, the Thunder Turtle's eyes became greedy and the energy it released became more and more intense. Walala, as Du Xiaofu's body cracked, the Thunder Martial Vein Talisman runes also retreated a little. The few Qianquan bags around Du Xiaofu lost their protection and were completely exposed to the yellow lightning. Then, they began to crack and be destroyed in an instant. Forcibly destroying the Qianquan bags would also completely destroy the things inside. Even if I die, I won't let you off so easily. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes and purple lightning shot out. Just as the Qianquan bags were about to be destroyed, Du Xiaofu directly opened the Qianquan bags. Walala, suddenly, a large amount of multicolored light spread out and a large pile of treasures rolled out from the Qianquan bags. It was as if they were piled up into a small mountain. These were all treasures that Du Xiaofu had collected. There were talisman weapons, Dao weapons, martial techniques, and refining materials. There were also various heavenly treasures that Du Xiaofu had collected along the way, as well as a large number of high-grade elixirs, spiritual herbs, mystic bones, and demonic beast blood essences. Walala, as if feeling the powerful aura of the treasures that had suddenly appeared, the surrounding yellow lightning suddenly flashed, wanting to directly destroy the martial techniques and talisman weapons and devour their energy for their own use. A large number of heavenly treasures, spiritual herbs, and elixirs were swept up by the lightning. Like a furnace, they were turned into spiritual liquid. In an instant, this large pile of heavenly treasures, spiritual herbs, and elixirs turned into a large ball of spiritual liquid the size of a face. The spiritual liquid was colorful and forcefully gathered together. The violent energy spread. If an ordinary peak chaotic element martial venerable were to come into contact with it, his body would explode and he would die immediately. Kaka kaka kaka, at the same time, the demonic beast blood essences that Du Xiaofu had collected in a large number of bottles and jars exploded and cracked. They gathered together in the spiritual liquid of the spiritual herbs, elixirs, and heavenly treasures. It was like a hodgepodge that finally gathered together. Chapter 1193. Among them, the dragon blood of the Dragon 9 that Du Xiaofu had collected was also gathered within, bringing with it the faint roar of a dragon. Crackle, the yellow lightning boiled as if it had seen its prey when it sensed the huge energy fluctuation. It turned into a howling yellow lightning vortex, wanting to devour the ball of spirit liquid that was filled with terrifying energy fluctuations. You want to snatch my stuff? You're not good enough. Suddenly, at the same time, Du Xiaofu also moved. Du Xiaofu rushed out with the last of his strength, opened his mouth and sucked. Whoosh, he was already close, and at this moment, he swallowed the ball of energy that was the size of a face directly into his mouth. Rumble, seeing this scene, the yellow lightning was enraged. It had turned those heavenly treasures, elixirs, and medicinal pills into spiritual liquid, but it didn't expect that it would help Du Xiaofu, and it instantly exploded. Thunder rumbled as it swept towards Du Xiaofu's body even more violently. Ah! Du Xiaofu screamed, not only because the yellow lightning's explosion was destroying his body, but also because he had swallowed so much of the violent spirit liquid in one go. That terrifying energy in Du Xiaofu's body was like a volcano erupting, wanting to destroy Du Xiaofu's body from the inside out. The energy contained in that ball of spirit liquid far exceeded Du Xiaofu's expectations. However, this was not important. because Du Xiaofu's plan was that even if he had to play himself to death, he would not let the spirit thunder obtain it. That would only make him die faster. Refine. In an instant, Du Xiaofu immediately activated the golden rock technique to refine the terrifying spirit liquid energy in his body. However, it was only for an instant. Under this kind of internal and external attack, Du Xiaofu once again fainted from the intense pain, but the golden rock technique in his body automatically activated. Rumble, the dazzling yellow lightning surged, as if it was in a rage. Endless waves of lightning surged towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu had already lost consciousness. At this moment, he did not know that after he fainted, the terrifying energy in his body erupted like a volcano, wanting to destroy everything. However, there was also energy that overflowed and wrapped around his broken body, nourishing his body in the thunder martial vein to help him resist. Roar. Almost at the same time, the beast roared like thunder. The blood essences that Du Xiaofu had collected from the demonic beasts on the heavenly beast list also began to take effect. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was operating the golden-winged rock cultivation method, which was equivalent to refining his body, transforming into ferocious energy phantoms that wrapped around Du Xiaofu's body. Aoo, one of the azure dragon phantoms hovered ferociously, exuding a powerful dragon aura. Its aura was astonishing, causing the surrounding beast phantoms to submit to it. The azure dragon phantoms were formed from the blood essence of Dragon 9 that Du Xiaofu had collected. The blood of Dragon 9 had also been swallowed by Du Xiaofu. This change immediately attracted the attention of the yellow lightning. It suddenly became more violent, erupting with a terrifying aura of destruction. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's body was protected by a large amount of energy. Inside his body, under the protection of the energy, it began to gradually recover, and a tenacious vitality appeared. Using the golden-winged rock cultivation method, Du Xiaofu refined the spirit liquid energy for his own use, nourishing and restoring his body and strengthening his thunder martial vein. Du Xiaofu was also refining the blood essences of the demonic beasts to strengthen his body refining method. Those yellow lightning bolts were powerful, constantly attacking and destroying Du Xiaofu's body. However, thanks to the sudden surge of energy that he had swallowed, the unconscious Du Xiaofu began to persevere, and once again began a tug-of-war with the yellow lightning spiritual lightning. And this kind of intense pain had reached the most unbearable level. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu had fainted, which was equivalent to losing consciousness, and had unknowingly escaped a calamity. After an unknown amount of time, in this lonely space where only the sound of thunder and lightning could be heard, after a long tug-of-war, the yellow lightning fell into a frenzy. The yellow lightning spiritual lightning realized that the human was actually on the verge of destruction. Suddenly, it began to reverse, and its aura began to become stronger and stronger. Du Xiaofu's body was slowly recovering, and at the same time, transforming. As the volcanic eruption of the spiritual liquid energy in Du Xiaofu's body was refined under the pain of destruction, it also turned into an endless stream of profound qi that surged into the dried-up spirit watchtower. The spirit watchtower was no longer dried up, and could nourish the body, bones, and muscles. It could also nourish the thunder martial vein, and gradually, the aura of the body began to become stronger and stronger. Du Xiaofu's body refining method was refining the blood essences of the demonic beasts. His profound qi guided the energy of the blood essences of the demonic beasts to attack his body, and there was a light that spread from the inside out. The light was resplendent, and the runes flickered, constantly changing. This time, Du Xiaofu himself did not know how much blood essences of the demonic beasts he had swallowed this time. In this desperate situation, Du Xiaofu finally used the golden-winged rocks cultivation method to refine the majestic energy of the large pile of blood essences of the demonic beasts into every bit of flesh, bone, and cell in his body. The violent energy of the many demonic beasts' blood essences attacked and cleansed Du Xiaofu's bones of the impurities that were hard to find in his marrow, and nourished his body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was in a coma, and his bones and marrow were being cleansed to the extreme. Unknowingly, as Du Xiaofu used the blood essences of the demonic beasts to cleanse his bones and marrow, and under the impact of the yellow lightning around him, some of the yellow lightning entered his body to cleanse his bones and marrow. In the beginning, the demonic beast phantoms circling around blocked the yellow lightning arcs from entering his body. In the end, Du Xiaofu's body seemed to have gotten used to the yellow lightning arcs and began to actively absorb the yellow lightning arcs around him to cleanse his bones and marrow. Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein strengthened again. It was the supreme aura of thunder and lightning. In the beginning, it was suppressed because Du Xiaofu was too weak. However, it had helped Du Xiaofu's body to sustain until now and had not really collapsed. At this moment, as the energy in Du Xiaofu's body recovered, the thunder martial vein erupted again. In the end, just like before, it began to wantonly devour the yellow lightning. At this moment, under the premise that Du Xiaofu had almost played himself to death, everything seemed to have reversed in his coma. Hulala! In this yellow lightning space, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and fainted. The electric arcs around his body were connected, and golden light had already begun to spread. The mysterious runes of the talisman flashed. From afar, it looked like a golden-winged rock was circling behind Du Xiaofu. It was so domineering that it was enough to make all beasts crawl. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body, which was originally covered in blood, now had a purple-gold color on his exposed skin. It was sparkling and translucent. After the cleansing of his bones and marrow, his physical body was once again strengthened. With the blood essence of the demonic beasts, especially Dragon 9's dragon blood, Du Xiaofu's body continued to strengthen. By chance, Du Xiaofu was still devouring the yellow lightning and cleansing his bones and marrow. No one knew what other changes would happen in the future. However, one could feel that Du Xiaofu's body continued to strengthen with the addition of the yellow lightning and marrow. It was beneficial and harmless. No one knew how much time had passed. In the sea of lightning, all kinds of dazzling runes flashed. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body, which was sitting cross-legged, had become crystal clear. Du Xiaofu's aura had started to grow in this sea of lightning. It was unknown when it had started, but the speed of its growth was extremely fast. Behind his back, his long black hair was wrapped in golden runes and accompanied by electric arcs. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a deity. He emitted a domineering aura that was ancient and mysterious. Without a doubt, Du Xiaofu had started to transform in this sea of lightning. He had gone from destruction to hope. The speed of this transformation was very slow, but the level of the transformation this time was extremely high. This might even be a caterpillar breaking out of its cocoon and transforming into a butterfly. It was an astonishing transformation that would allow one to be reborn. The transformation was progressing slowly, but Du Xiaofu's aura was rising rapidly. The large pile of spiritual herbs, heavenly treasures, and demonic beast blood essence were piled up like a small mountain. They were all high-level treasures. One could imagine how much energy they contained. At this moment, the astonishing energy had all landed in Du Xiaofu's body. It allowed Du Xiaofu to walk around the gates of hell and obtain astonishing benefits in the end. Under the refinement of the golden rock technique, the astonishing energy turned into surging profound energy that continuously flowed into the god's watchtower under the premise that Du Xiaofu had persevered and didn't die. It had been more than half a year since Du Xiaofu had caused a ruckus in the Hehuan school. In this half a year, many things had happened in the Hehuan school. It had to be mentioned that a few months ago, the Sameng sword sect had suddenly come to the Hehuan school with great momentum, wanting the Hehuan school to hand over the demon king, Du Xiaofu. Facing the Sameng sword sect, one of the strongest forces in the entire Shang prefecture, the Hehuan school had no choice but to treat them seriously. However, the answer given by the Hehuan school was that the demon king, Du Xiaofu, had already escaped from the Hehuan school. Thus, the Sameng sword sect was unable to verify the truth. Furthermore, Du Xiaofu had slaughtered everyone in the Hehuan school. The number of Hehuan school's martial honorable realm experts that had died in his hands was not small. Thus, the Sa Meng sword sect could only leave in the end. Furthermore, Du Xiaofu still had a relationship with the Sa Meng sword sect. After causing a ruckus in the Hehuan school, he was still able to escape safely and swagger away. This caused a commotion in the Shang prefecture once again and became the most lively topic of discussion. In this half a year, many things had happened in the Shang prefecture. The first was the establishment of the Evil Purifying Alliance. Chapter 1194. The Evil Purifying Alliance was an alliance of all the forces in Shang province. 10 alliance elders were selected from the older generation of experts from the various factions. The purpose of the Evil Purifying Alliance was to eliminate the evil spirits that were wreaking havoc in Shang province. Those evil spirits had already spawned in Shang province. They could devour people's minds and souls to strengthen themselves. They massacred humans wantonly. They were strange and difficult to deal with. Normal attacks would not be able to eliminate them completely. Back then, the various forces in Shang province did not plan to deal with those evil spirits on a large scale. They were all minding their own business. However, those evil spirits were getting crazier and crazier. Some of them were getting stronger and stronger. The entire Shang province was affected. Only then did the various forces realize that if they did not eliminate those evil spirits now, it would be too late in the future. Therefore, the Evil Purifying Alliance was formed. Not only in Shang province, but in the other 8 provinces as well. The younger generation of the Evil Purifying Alliance in Shang province fought for the position of alliance leader. Mu Jianchen of the Saiman sword sect, one of the 12 heroes, was elected as the alliance leader. He led the various forces in Shang province to eliminate the evil spirits together. For a time, the situation in Shang province was turbulent. All the major forces were mobilized and started a mighty cleansing operation. They directly killed all kinds of evil spirits. Under such a cleansing operation, the rampaging evil spirits finally stopped growing crazily and started to retreat. When Du Xiaofu woke up from his unconscious state, his body was still in pain. It was as if his body was about to be torn apart. "I'm not dead yet." Du Xiaofu's first reaction was to feel the pain. He knew that he was not dead yet. However, the endless yellow lightning was being rapidly absorbed by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, the yellow lightning energy was being absorbed by the thunder martial vein. Du Xiaofu could feel that the thunder martial vein was changing faster and stronger. The yellow lightning energy was like the nourishment of the thunder martial vein. What surprised Du Xiaofu the most was that the thunder martial vein in his body had finally turned the tables in this tug-of-war. At this moment, although Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was still unable to completely suppress the vast and resplendent yellow thunderbolts, at least it was able to protect itself and was no longer suppressed by the yellow thunderbolts. It was still continuously absorbing the thunderbolts like a bottomless pit. Although the thunderbolt martial vein could absorb the yellow spiritual lightning, the intense pain it brought about in his body still made Du Xiaofu feel so much pain that he wished he was dead. However, it was obviously much better than the previous torture that was worse than death. The thunder martial vein crazily absorbed too much yellow radiant spiritual thunder, and it was still absorbing. That violent energy attack seemed to want to tear Du Xiaofu's body apart. In Du Xiaofu's mind, the most resplendent yellow lightning arc tortoise was releasing a violent and destructive pressure that wanted to destroy Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. But now, Du Xiaofu was surprised to find that the silver lightning arc tree in his primordial spirit, which was formed by the silver lightning arc tree, had miraculously merged with the mysterious light of the spiritual root talisman under the pressure of the yellow radiance thunder spirit. The mysterious light of the spiritual root talisman, which could not be activated and controlled by Du Xiaofu, had now merged with the silver lightning arc tree and covered it. It was as if it had turned into leaves of light that covered the entire tree. As the silver lightning arc tree and the mysterious light of the spiritual root talisman merged together, there seemed to be a chemical reaction between the two. It began to breed a new aura, which was ancient and overbearing and could not be provoked. Originally, as Du Xiaofu's body had swallowed and refined a large amount of energy from the spiritual herbs and heavenly treasures, many of which had the effect of strengthening the primordial spirit. After the energy was refined, it flowed into the Naiwan palace and was absorbed by the silver lightning arc tree, which had merged with the mysterious light of the spiritual root talisman, making it more and more powerful. There was also the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique that was automatically circulating in his mind, assisting the fusion of the silver lightning arc tree and the spiritual root. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the silver lightning arc tree and the spiritual root to truly fuse together so smoothly. The mysterious incomplete cultivation technique seemed to have been triggered by something and circulated in his mind on its own. An ancient white light spread out in his Naiwan palace, as if it was shrouded in divine light. As the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique circulated, it seemed to be able to absorb everything, causing the lightning tortoise's eyes to reveal a look of horror. In the sea of lightning where the resplendent yellow lightning arcs gathered, Du Xiaofu's body was wrapped in a layer of flickering lightning. Purple lightning arcs flowed in all directions. After swallowing the yellow spiritual lightning, the aura of the lightning martial vein on Du Xiaofu's body became stronger and stronger. It was already filled with the aura of a supreme being. The majestic spiritual liquid energy that his body had swallowed caused the celestial energy in his god's watchtower to be filled to the brim, showing signs of a breakthrough. Du Xiaofu's naked body was crystal clear and emitted a golden light. The essence blood of various demonic beasts on the heavenly beast ranking was cleansing his bones and marrow to the extreme. Behind him, there was a golden light of the mysterious light of the talisman that shot into the sky. It vaguely resembled a golden-winged rock that was flapping its wings. It was overbearing and intimidating, a supreme being amongst beasts. Swoosh swoosh, the bright moon moved. The moon was dark and the wind was strong. 3 figures streaked across the night sky. Su Muxin, so you're really a woman. You deceived the Manchu, and you're no longer a virgin. If you let that Du Xiaofu go, the elders have already decided to remove you from the position of sect master. You'll be temporarily locked up in the heavenly prison to await your punishment. Surrender without a fight. You know that the situation in front of you is hopeless. You have nowhere to run. In the night sky, there was a sneer. Dozens of figures flew through the air and chased after each other. The vast and mighty aura froze a large area of the void. Whoosh whoosh, 3 beautiful figures landed in front of a swaying space. A violent and destructive aura filled the air. Junior sister, we have nowhere to run. I'll help you block a few of them. You run first. As long as you find master, you can return to the Hehuan school and take back the position of sect master. A charming and beautiful woman with a pale face and dark red blood stains at the corner of her mouth added to her poignant beauty. She was the laughing Rakshasa of the Hehuan school, Tang Miling. How can they let me out of the school so easily? They've already set up an inescapable net outside the school. They definitely won't let us leave to find master. What they want to do is to get rid of us completely before master returns. Her hair cascaded down to her slender waist, and the beautiful face of a purple-robed woman was deathly pale. However, that beautiful face was still enough to captivate all living things. It was so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. Master, you shouldn't have saved me. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to hurt you. A beautiful woman with limpid eyes spoke. She was Ji Jian. The beautiful woman turned around and smiled at Ji Jian. Don't think too much. Where there's life, there's hope. As long as we find your grandmaster, we'll have a chance to turn the tables. This is what they're most afraid of now. Junior sister, I'm afraid that we don't even know when master will return. It could be a few years, or a few decades, or even a few centuries. Tang Miling frowned. She hesitated for a moment and said, or perhaps, he'll never return. Su Muxin raised her eyes slightly and didn't say anything. Suddenly, she looked at the night sky behind her. There were already figures flying over like lightning. She opened her mouth and said, "They've caught up. Whether we live or die, it's up to the heavens. If we fall into their hands, we'll definitely die. There's only a slim chance of survival inside. Let's go in. Even if we die, we can't fall into their hands. The Hehuan school is already under their control." Tang Meiling bit her red lips that were stained with blood. Her eyes were filled with coldness. Swish, Su Muxin's hand seals had already formed. Mysterious runes surged out and instantly turned into energy runes that fell into the fluctuating space in front of them. Rumble, suddenly, the space rippled and a rune space notch appeared in front of them. "Let's go." As soon as she finished speaking, Su Muxin grabbed Ji Jian with one hand and rushed into the notch. Tang Meiling's beautiful figure followed closely behind. The three beautiful figures instantly disappeared into the spatial ripples, and the spatial ripples returned to normal. Swish, swish, as the three of them disappeared, more than 10 figures landed one after another. A vast aura condensed in the air and spread in all directions. We were a step too late. They actually escaped. A handsome man's face was gloomy. His eyes were filled with coldness, but there seemed to be some kind of reluctance in his eyes. He didn't know that Su Muxin was such a beautiful woman. That's a land of death. Those who go and never come out. It saves a lot of effort. A beautiful woman in the front murmured with coldness in her eyes. "I just don't know if that bitch collected those 2 cultivation techniques. It would be a pity if the Qianyang dragon subduing technique really fell into her hands." Walala, in the sea of lightning where the vast yellow light gathered, the aura on Du Xiaofu's body had risen to a critical point. At this moment, as the thunder martial vein absorbed the energy of the yellow spiritual thunder, the aura became stronger. There was also a wave of energy that seeped out from the thunder martial vein and entered his body. It was as if it was returning to its origin. It was like the reverse flow of the sea, and it kept surging into Du Xiaofu's divine watchtower. Chapter 1195. His aura strengthened, and his divine watchtower was full. Du Xiaofu could clearly feel an unprecedented power surging out of his body. Even his physical body had strengthened once again from its original level of strength. His bones, muscles, meridians, and acupoints were all strengthening. Du Xiaofu's entire body was filled with a faint golden fluorescent light from inside out. His physical body continued to transform under the extreme cleansing of his bones and marrow, a transformation that leaped by leaps and bounds. This kind of leaping transformation of his physical body made Du Xiaofu feel that even if he fought purely with his physical body now, his battle strength would still soar. Bang! Suddenly, the critical point within Du Xiaofu's full divine watchtower expanded to the point where it could no longer be suppressed. A low muffled sound rang out. In an instant, an unprecedentedly powerful aura swept out from Du Xiaofu's body as if it covered the sky and covered the earth. Rumble, this domineering and terrifying aura caused the yellow lightning space to rumble endlessly. It stirred up lightning that overflowed into the sky, as if it wanted to stir up the sea of lightning until it turned the sky and earth upside down. The domineering energy fluctuation caused the lightning arcs in the yellow lightning sea to undulate like a vast ocean. Like a golden rainbow across the sky, bright and dazzling runes surged in all directions. At this moment, at the same time, an incomparably domineering aura began to seep out from Du Xiaofu's body. A purplish gold light shot out in all directions, as if the sun was about to rise in this sea of lightning. Walala, the bright purplish gold lightning was tens of thousands of feet long. It was as if countless purplish gold energy ribbons were pouring into this yellow lightning space, emitting a blazing light. In the next instant, a huge purplish gold golden-winged rock illusion spread its wings and soared into the sky from the surface of Du Xiaofu's body. This purplish gold rock illusion enveloped Du Xiaofu's body, as if it had merged into one and was about to soar into the sky. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body swept out from the sea of lightning as if he had transformed into a real golden-winged rock. Gee! Du Xiaofu roared like the cry of a golden-winged rock. The sound waves pierced through the clouds amidst the resplendent yellow sea of lightning. Rumble! The shadow behind Du Xiaofu spread its enormous wings, and purple-gold lightning arcs sparkled all over its body. Its ferocious aura spread out, causing the entire lightning space to tremble. Golden-winged rock, are you a human or a demonic beast? The sea of thunder surged, the yellow light was resplendent, and the thunder was boiling. The surprised voice of the spiritual thunder came. At this moment, this violent and destructive spiritual thunder seemed to have sensed something from Du Xiaofu's body. As the thunder boiled violently, it once again condensed into a huge yellow lightning turtle that was thousands of feet long. The 10,000 feet long lightning turtle exuded a violent and destructive aura, and it seemed to cause the entire space to tremble. Its eyes were fixed on the purple-gold golden-winged great peng that surrounded Du Xiaofu. Transcendent martial honorables, refining the divine body, faced with the huge lightning turtle's gaze, Du Xiaofu laughed heartily from within the purple-gold golden-winged great peng. His eyes shot out purple-gold lightning arcs, and they were like two bright suns that illuminated the sky, overlooking the world. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt as if he had transformed into a real golden-winged rock, and he could sense and capture everything about the golden-winged rock. His heart and spirit moved, and his mind wandered. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt as if he was the real golden-winged rock, soaring in the heavens, and he could control the supreme power. In the sea of thunder, the violent and destructive yellow spiritual thunder could no longer make Du Xiaofu feel uncomfortable. The purple-gold golden-winged great peng behind Du Xiaofu seemed to merge perfectly, and it released an endless and domineering aura. It was as if it was going to soar into the heavens. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had completely changed. He had turned the situation around, and he had stepped into the transcendent martial honorable realm. With the help of the heavenly beast ranking's blood essence and the dragon nine's blood, he had cleansed his bones and cleansed his marrow. Along with the breakthrough, he had completed the cleansing of his bones and had stepped into the realm of refining the divine body. Strong, there was an unprecedented amount of power surging in his body. It was as if he could subdue dragons and tigers with just a raise of his hand, and he could crush the void. This kind of power in his body made Du Xiaofu's heart tremble, and he wanted to roar loudly. The huge lightning turtle, under the supreme aura of Du Xiaofu's golden-winged great peng, also had a fierce look in its eyes. The spiritual thunder could not understand. The human in front of it had clearly reached the point where he could not withstand a single blow. How could he rise up again, and even break through? The human in front of it was like a real great peng, and it could not believe it. This is my territory. Even if you can break through, you will still be destroyed. The yellow lightning tortoise roared, glaring at the violet gold great rock in rage. Its eyes were so ferocious that they seemed to materialize into lightning, shooting towards the great rock. Chi La. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings, and the huge purple gold rock behind him flapped its wings, shattering the two bright yellow lightning bolts. In the next instant, a naked figure wrapped in dazzling purple gold lightning slowly walked out of the illusory figure. Purple gold light shone brightly like a miracle. From the body of the tall and straight figure, there was a supreme aura that filled the air and suppressed the world. At this instant, dazzling violet gold bolts of lightning flashed out from the surroundings, violet gold talisman markings flickered, and an unprecedentedly formidable aura stretched out from the tall figure of violet gold bolts of lightning. The aura was incomparably powerful, engulfing the skies. It couldn't be provoked, but it also carried the power of execution. His eyes shot out violet gold lightning like two violet gold suns, and the domineering aura caused the space to rumble. Du Xiaofu slowly raised his head and looked at the humongous lightning tortoise in front of him. A sinister smile appeared on his face, and the corners of his mouth curled up as he said, "You must be satisfied after dealing with me for so long. Humph, you will die too." Sensing the sinister look in Du Xiaofu's eyes, the lightning tortoise was enraged. It stirred up a large patch of dazzling yellow lightning that swept towards Du Xiaofu. Still using the same tricks. It's a pity that they won't work now. Looking at the dazzling yellow lightning that swept towards him, Du Xiaofu smiled. He wrapped his body with the thunder martial vein, opened his mouth, and instantly sucked the dazzling yellow lightning into his mouth. Finally, he licked his lips greedily, as if he had not had enough. His physical body had been tempered, and it had reached the divine body refinement realm. Originally, Du Xiaofu's body had been tempered by the violet gold lightning in the purple lightning profound cauldron, and he had the immortal Xian body. Now, with the protection of the thunder martial vein, he had already gotten used to the yellow spiritual lightning in desperate situations. Therefore, Du Xiaofu had already gotten used to the yellow spiritual lightning. Moreover, after such a long time, although the spiritual lightning seemed to have endless energy, Du Xiaofu also felt that it had consumed a lot of energy in the stalemate with him. The spiritual lightning was consumed more by the spiritual lightning soul seed in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace, which caused the yellow spiritual lightning to become much weaker. Now, it's my turn. After swallowing the yellow lightning, Du Xiaofu's sinister smile still hung on his face, and the dazzling violet gold lightning started to surge around him. It's not your turn to be arrogant, puny brat. You're courting death. The lightning turtle was enraged, and with a furious roar, its huge body charged toward Du Xiaofu with boiling lightning. Bastard! Du Xiaofu sneered, and at the same time, the huge violet gold lightning rock behind him flapped its wings and swept out. Its mighty and domineering pressure swept out, and its huge body covered most of the space. Coo! The purple gold rock screeched. Its voice seemed to penetrate the lightning space. The sound waves were able to distort the lightning in the space. Its body was covered in purple gold electric arcs. As they twisted rapidly, they finally gathered into huge purple gold thunderbolts. Bolts of purple gold lightning destroyed the surrounding yellow lightning before landing heavily on the lightning tortoise's body. The terrifying violet gold lightning that covered the sky and earth fell, and the lightning turtle's body trembled. Roar! The lightning turtle roared, and the sound of thunder resounded. Its ferocious head was like a giant python flying dragon, and in an instant, it swallowed the violet gold lightning rock with lightning speed. Chi la, violet gold lightning arcs erupted from the violet gold rock's sharp claws. The lightning arcs wreaked havoc in the sky, and it was like a violet gold sun in the sky. A claw print tore through the space, and directly tore the lightning turtle's ferocious head apart. The violet gold rock's other claw landed heavily on the lightning turtle's back. Chi la la, the terrifying claw print landed, and the lightning turtle, which was filled with wild and destructive energy, was in a stalemate for a moment, before cracks began to appear on its body. In the next instant, the surface of the 1,000 feet large lightning turtle began to ripple with violent yellow lightning arcs. Rumble! At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body swooped down, and his fist, which was covered by the lightning martial vein, was like a violet gold lightning ball, as it heavily landed on the lightning turtle's cracked back. The violet gold lightning was filled with killing intent, and its aura was like that of a lightning sovereign. Rumble! The lightning turtle finally cracked under Du Xiaofu's punch. Hua la la, the destructive and violent energy spread out, and it turned into a dazzling lightning rune that swept out like a tidal wave. In this terrifying sea of spiritual lightning, Du Xiaogang was no longer afraid, and he could move freely without any damage. Bastard! In Du Xiaofu's Naiwen palace, the miniature lightning turtle, which was formed by the yellow spiritual lightning soul seed, roared and said furiously, "Boy, I will not let you go. When I devour your primordial spirit, you will be doomed forever." Chapter 1196. You still want to swallow my primordial spirit? When Du Xiaofu heard this, the huge purple gold lightning rock behind him disappeared and turned into a series of purple gold talisman inscriptions that covered the surface of his body. He sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Tsk tisk. At the same time, in Du Xiaofu's Naiwan Palace, the miniature version of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit had a silvery white electric arc in its eyes. Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit moved as it gave off the aura of being forged by the purple gold Xian bomb. Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit stared intently at the lightning turtle in his Naiwan Palace as it faintly revealed a sinister smile. "Brat, you want to swallow me?" The lightning turtle with the soul seed seemed to have sensed the intention of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. It was surprised that Du Xiaofu wanted to swallow its soul seed. "You want to swallow my primordial spirit? Why can't I swallow your soul seed?" Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit sneered and curled the corners of his mouth. He had already turned the tables. Although he did not know if he could swallow the second spiritual lightning soul seed, Du Xiaofu did not plan to let go of such an opportunity. Most importantly, the spiritual lightning soul seed had entered Du Xiaofu's Naiwan Palace. Other than swallowing it, Du Xiaofu could not find a way to chase it out. Tsk, you have only broken through to the extraordinary martial honorable level. Martial domain realm and 9-star spiritual symbol master are not qualified to swallow my soul seed. You are too weak. When it heard this, the spiritual lightning soul seed was stunned. It then laughed coldly. You are not the first spiritual lightning soul seed that I have swallowed. Du Xiaofu glanced at the lightning turtle with the soul seed. This spiritual lightning soul seed was naturally more difficult to swallow than the silver silk soul devouring bomb. However, it did not seem like there was no chance. Upon hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the thunder tortoise's eyes darkened as it stared at the tree of silver lightning arcs in front of it. Then, it trembled and fell silent. After Du Xiaofu finished speaking, his Yuan spirit body sat down cross-legged in his Naiwan Palace. He formed a seal with his hands and started to mutter, "The Tao of heaven and earth uses yin and yang to create all things. Heaven and earth, sun and moon, thunder and lightning, wind and rain, for seasons, male and female, hard and soft, active and passive. All things are divided into yin and yang, heaven and earth see people as mayflies, and the great Tao sees heaven and earth as bubbles and shadows. Only the true nature of the primordial spirit surpasses the primordial spirit, and its essence disappears along with the heaven and earth. However, as long as the primordial spirit exists, there is no limit. It is born from the heaven and earth. If you want to see the primordial spirit, you must first see the light of Xing. This light is the light of true Xing. Without light, it is difficult to find the true Xing primordial spirit." As Du Xiaofu finished muttering, he turned into a series of unfamiliar characters. They were like dazzling ancient runes that bloomed like fireworks in his Naiwan Palace. In the end, they enveloped the soul-seeded lightning turtle. Crackle, at the same time, the silver electric tree in front of Du Xiaofu's Yuan spirit that had fused with a spiritual root exuded an ancient aura. It was as if one was facing a king that could not be resisted. It directly suppressed the soul-seeded lightning turtle. At this moment, the aura of the silver electric tree was not to be challenged. Mysterious runes erupted, and it was as if the silver electric tree was taking root and sprouting. Countless branches and leaves spread out like a net of light and enveloped the lightning turtle. Roar, the lightning turtle roared and immediately struggled. A terrifying destructive force swept out, but the more it struggled, the tighter it became under the shroud of the silver electric tree. The mysterious runes on the silver electric tree were like the sharpest blades of light. It was as if they were going to cut the soul-seeded lightning turtle into pieces. A magnificent and desolate aura spread. It was as if a supreme being had ascended to the heavens. The soul-seeded lightning turtle struggled, and terrifying destructive electric arcs erupted. Under such a struggle, Du Xiaofu felt excruciating pain in his Yuan spirit even though he had some advantage and something to rely on. His entire body was under attack. This soul-seeded lightning turtle was definitely not easy to devour and refine. Otherwise, there would have been experts from the Hehuan school who had successfully fused with the soul-seeded lightning turtle over the past 2,000 years. They could only seal it. At this moment, although the soul-seated lightning turtle's struggle made Du Xiaofu uncomfortable, Du Xiaofu had been through a long period of extreme pain. It was as if he had been tempered in a hopeless situation. The pain at this moment was not unbearable for Du Xiaofu. The soul-seated lightning turtle's struggle stimulated Du Xiaofu's full strength. He used the mysterious incomplete technique and the silver electric tree to bind the soul-seated lightning turtle with overwhelming force. Gradually, fear appeared in the soul-seated lightning turtle's eyes. It could not understand how the human in front of it, who was on the verge of death, could reverse the situation so quickly. Every dog had its day. The soul-seated lightning turtle began to fight like a trapped beast. It struggled violently and continuously released terrifying and violent destructive energy. This made Du Xiaofu's face in the outside world reveal an extremely painful expression from time to time. As time passed, the soul-seated lightning turtle's struggle did not seem to have much effect. As Du Xiaofu used the mysterious incomplete technique and the silver electric tree to suppress it, the soul-seated lightning turtle gradually weakened. Of course, Du Xiaofu's performance at this moment seemed to be natural and easy for him to deal with the soul-seated lightning turtle. However, if it were someone else, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Human, let's call a truce. I can withdraw from your mud pill palace and let you leave this place. How about we stay out of each other's business in the future? Finally, the soul-seated lightning turtle began to beg for mercy. It felt that it was weak and did not want to be refined and fused with. It's too late to beg for mercy now. Since you want to devour me, it's only right for me to devour you now. Du Xiaofu sneered coldly. There was no room for negotiation. Every dog has its day. Naturally, he would not let it go. While controlling the silver electric tree and using the mysterious incomplete technique, Du Xiaofu used all his strength to suppress the soul-seated lightning turtle. At this moment, the soul-seated lightning turtle had become weak and could not even struggle anymore. However, as the spiritual thunder, it was the most terrifying creature in the world. How could it be easy for Du Xiaofu to truly devour it? Over the countless years, there had been many experts who had dominated the world. However, only a few of them were qualified to successfully integrate a spiritual thunder. It was no doubt a fool's dream to want to completely integrate and refine it in a short period of time. Just like that, time passed. Du Xiaofu's body and primordial spirit were both sitting cross-legged like an old monk in meditation. 10 days, 20 days, or even longer. Finally, Du Xiaofu felt that the soul-seated lightning turtle was completely powerless to resist. Its fierce eyes revealed its last reluctance and helplessness. Then, he began to absorb, refine, and integrate it. Perhaps it's because you've gotten used to this bolt of spiritual lightning in this desperate situation where you'd rather die than live. The lightning turtle no longer struggled. Refining and integrating it was easier than Du Xiaofu had expected. After successfully refining the soul-seated lightning turtle, Du Xiaofu's face broke into a smile. He was overjoyed. The soul-seated lightning spiritual thunder, which was originally violent and destructive, was now extremely tamed. It was like a newborn baby. It no longer resisted and integrated into the silver electric tree, causing the tree to emit a bright yellow glow. Originally, Du Xiaofu was worried that his primordial spirit already had one type of spiritual thunder. He was afraid that he would not be able to integrate a second type of spiritual thunder. Even if he could integrate a second type of spiritual thunder, he did not know what would happen when the two types of spiritual thunder merged into one. However, Du Xiaofu's worries seemed to have been for nothing. Under the effects of the mysterious incomplete technique, the two types of spiritual lightning seemed to fuse together after a slight contact. Although the integration of the two types of spiritual thunder was not perfect in the beginning and there was some resistance, it gradually became more natural and closer to perfection. At this moment, Du Xiaofu did not know that since ancient times, there had been many powerful figures and powerhouses who had integrated one type of spiritual thunder. In the end, no one succeeded in integrating a second type of spiritual thunder. Spiritual thunder was the most powerful living thing in the world. Any type of spiritual thunder was a terrifying existence. Integrating two types of spiritual thunder into one was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Du Xiaofu's ability to integrate two types of spiritual thunder was closely related to the mysterious incomplete technique. Without the help of the incomplete technique, not to mention integrating two types of spiritual thunder, even one type of spiritual thunder would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Otherwise, Du Xiaofu would not have been the only one to obtain this spiritual thunder in the Hehuan school. Then, the silver lightning tree transformed into a wave of energy that surged into Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, causing the surface of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit to be filled with dazzling yellow lightning. At the same time, it caused the aura of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit to skyrocket. This spiritual thunder was comparable to the martial domain realm. It made it so that martial domain realm cultivators and 9-star soul symbol masters were unable to integrate and refine it. Its soul seed was equivalent to the primordial spirit of a human or beast clan cultivator. The energy contained within it was enormous. At this moment, as Du Xiaofu refined it, it was also obtained by Du Xiaofu. As the spiritual thunder was integrated and refined, the lightning turtle gradually became smaller. The aura of Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit became stronger and stronger. The yellow lightning on his primordial spirit also became more and more dazzling and resplendent. Time slowed down once again, and the space once again fell into a kind of silence. It was likely that after the soul seed lightning turtle was completely refined, Du Xiaofu's body would undergo another earth-shaking transformation. And the next transformation would come from Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. No one knew what kind of changes would occur when two types of spiritual thunder were integrated into one's body. After all, in this world, there were no records of anyone who had the talent to be able to integrate two types of spiritual thunder into one. And now, Du Xiaofu was gradually integrating two types of spiritual thunder into one in this underground space. Chapter 1197. Translator, H2DH2 Mr. Time passed just like that. Du Xiaofu was also immersed in a state of selflessness. In this state of selflessness, a 9-petaled lotus flower had appeared under Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. It was a purple lotus flower that rippled with electric arcs. It was crystal clear and had a total of 9 leaves. The lotus flower was crystal clear, as if it was formed from the most perfect purple spirit jade in the world. It was natural and beautiful. However, the purple electric arcs rippling on the lotus flower were enough to make one's primordial spirit tremble. In the middle of the purple electric lotus flower, there was a smooth lotus platform. It was spotless and gave off an ancient aura. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit body was already sitting cross-legged on this lotus platform. The purple electric lotus floated and seemed to be supporting Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit body. This was the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. It was a treasure that Du Xiaofu had obtained back in Tianhuang mainland. It was very likely to be the third mysterious treasure of Jinlei Tensei. Although this 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian was not a treasure, it could help Du Xiaofu to understand the lightning mystique. It could allow Du Xiaofu to achieve twice the results with half the effort. Time continued to pass silently like this. At a certain moment, Du Xiaofu's mind suddenly trembled while he was completely unaware of it. His soul core's eyes opened up, and one of his eyes shone with dazzling yellow light while the other shone with dazzling silver light. At the same time, in the vast space outside, Du Xiaofu's body was surrounded by purple gold, silver, and yellow electric arcs. Whoosh, the energy of heaven and earth came from nowhere and gathered in the surroundings. The energy of heaven and earth seeped into the space between Du Xiaofu's brows and finally into his Naiwan palace. In the Mudpill Palace, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit sat cross-legged on the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. The tree of silver electric arcs was also infused with a bright yellow glow. His Yuanshan's aura had been rising for a very long time. Waves of aura rippled out from Du Xiaofu's Naiwan palace. These ripples were invisible to the naked eye, but they were getting more and more intense. Boom! Finally, this fluctuation reached its most intense state. As this intense fluctuation spread out, the vast space within the deep pit began to boil like boiling water. His aura was rising violently. The aura that emanated from Du Xiaofu's Naiwan palace was like a dam that had been opened, pouring down in torrents. It whizzed out and continuously attacked the barrier. How powerful was the yellow light spiritual thunder! The energy on the soul seed had all gathered in Du Xiaofu's body. Although the enormous energy on the yellow light spiritual thunder soul seed had been refined by the mysterious incomplete cultivation method and had become increasingly pure, the energy that could be absorbed by Du Xiaofu at this moment was only 10 to 20% of the purest energy. Otherwise, if the energy contained in the yellow light spiritual thunder soul seed was absorbed by Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit, no matter how powerful Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit was, it would not be able to withstand the self-destruction. No matter how large a lake was, it could not accept a vast ocean. However, the yellow light spiritual thunder was so powerful that it was comparable to a martial domain realm or a 9-star spiritual talisman master. Even after being refined by the mysterious incomplete cultivation method, Du Xiaofu was able to absorb 10 to 20% of the surging energy contained in the soul seed. It was still shocking. In terms of primordial spirit power, a 9-star spiritual talisman master was comparable to 10 8-star nirvana spiritual talisman masters. Rumble. In the space of the deep pit, the surrounding energy of heaven and earth was violent, causing the space to shake and tremble. An invisible aura swept out from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows. Then, the vast primordial spirit power also rushed out from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows like a stormy sea. It shot up into the sky from the deep pit at lightning speed. Hula, the terrifying aura soared, and dazzling electric arcs filled the sky. The vast and majestic primordial spirit power spread out like a storm. The rising aura was too extraordinary and ancient. It was accompanied by the silver net soul devouring thunder, the yellow light spiritual thunder, and a terrifying spiritual root pressure. At this moment, if there were other spiritual talisman masters present, it was unknown how shocked they would be. The primordial spirit power had always been the most difficult to cultivate and increase. At this moment, the primordial spirit power that was spreading out from Du Xiaofu's body was so powerful that it could only be described as terrifying. This kind of pressure was enough to directly crush an ordinary person's primordial spirit. The most important thing was that Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit aura was soaring, continuously soaring. Under the frightening scene of the boiling space and lightning flashing and thunder rumbling, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit aura soared, driving Du Xiaofu's spiritual talisman master level aura to break through, but not continuously. This kind of continuous breaking speed was enough to make all spiritual talisman masters stunned and endlessly envious. It was continuously breaking through in a manner that was enough to make all spiritual talisman masters stunned and endlessly envious. In the space of the deep pit, yellow electric arcs and thunder violently swept across. Why is the spiritual thunder suddenly rioting, damn it? The electric arcs filled the sky, and the terrifying aura surged violently. 3 graceful figures were swept up in it, resisting the terrifying electric arcs around them. These 3 beautiful figures were all very moving. One was charming, one was quiet and noble, and one was charming and noble, as if she could bewitch all living things. The 3 were Su Muxin, Tang Meiling, and Ji Jian. The 3 girls had fled from the Hehuan school to this talisman array forbidden area, and suddenly, they were affected by the devastating electric arcs and thunderbolts. Su Muxin and Tang Meiling's strength were very strong, but at the moment, both of them were seriously injured. Under this terrifying aura fluctuation, the 2 girls still had to protect Ji Jian, so they could only protect themselves. Fortunately, these devastating electric arcs and thunderbolts were not specifically targeted at them. Something's not right. There's the silver net soul devouring thunder and the aura of the spiritual root. Could it be that he's not dead yet? Is he still alive? Su Muxin looked at the electric arcs that filled the sky. There were yellow electric arcs, purple gold electric arcs, and silver electric arcs, accompanied by the terrifying aura of the spiritual root. Immediately, her breathtaking beautiful face changed color. Whoosh! The defensive halo on her body protected Ji Jiyan, and Su Muxin's beautiful figure was wrapped in the energy formation halo, and directly swept down into the space below. He's not dead yet. Could it be that Du Xiaofu, that little bastard, is still alive? The laughing Rakshasa and Tang Meiling were stunned when they heard this. Then, they wrapped themselves in the protective halo and followed after. The wind and clouds surged, and all the electric arcs seemed to have transformed into a huge whirlpool. A figure wrapped in electric arcs of various colors sat cross-legged in the middle of the whirlpool. It was like a miracle. The terrifying aura of the primordial spirit on his body soared like a rocket. Whoosh whoosh, two dazzling halos forcefully swept over, and three beautiful figures appeared outside the whirlpool. It was Su Muxin, Ji Jiyan, and the laughing Rakshasa and Tang Meiling. The terrifying aura of the primordial spirit spread out from the whirlpool, and Su Muxin and Tang Meiling's hearts trembled. The three women were stunned as they looked at the figure covered in lightning that looked like a divine miracle. This is impossible. How can the power of the primordial spirit be so strong? Tang Meiling looked at the figure sitting cross-legged in the middle of the whirlpool of electric arcs. Electric runes soared into the sky, and a powerful aura filled the air. The power of the primordial spirit stunned her. Suddenly, Tang Meiling seemed to have sensed something. She was stunned and couldn't help but cry out, "An 8-star extraordinary talisman master." That person's aura should have just broken through, but he's still breaking through to become an 8-star origin talisman master. Is he going to break through consecutively? The laughing Rakshasa and Tang Meiling were shocked. At the level of an 8-star talisman master, it was extremely difficult to break through even one level, no matter how talented one was. Most people would find it difficult to break through even one level in their entire lives, let alone the perfected and extraordinary levels. But now, the aura of the figure covered in electric arcs clearly showed that he had just broken through to become an 8-star extraordinary talisman master. But now, he was still breaking through, and the momentum was not slowing down. It wasn't weak at all. Instead, it was getting more and more violent. Su Muxin looked ahead. Her face was pale, and her eyes were rippling violently. Her aura was extremely weak. Under the protection of her master, Su Muxin, Ji Jian's eyes were filled with hope amidst the shock. Whoosh, the aura of the figure continued to soar. Just as Tang Meiling was dumbfounded, he broke through another bottleneck. 8-star origin talisman. Tang Meiling's jaw dropped for a long time. At the level of a perfected 8-star extraordinary talisman master, there was actually someone who could break through consecutively. Chapter 1198. It was as if the cultivation bottlenecks that were as difficult as ascending to the heavens for ordinary people could be easily broken through by the lightning figure. A terrifying aura rippled in this vast space, and the storm of primordial spirit power continued to surge. In the lightning vortex, the aura of the miraculous lightning figure hovered at the peak of the 8-star primordial chaos realm. It seemed that he was going to continue breaking through. That guy can't still break through, right? How can he let others live? The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Meiling, was helpless and dejected. What she saw today was definitely a big blow to her. If he can't resist the temptation of breaking through, it will only harm him in the future. It's no different from pulling up seedlings to help them grow. There's no benefit. Su Muxin looked at the lightning figure in the vortex in front of her and frowned slightly. Her expression was extremely complicated, and a strange look flashed in her eyes. In the terrifying vortex, the lightning figure sitting cross-legged still had his aura at the peak of the 8-star primordial chaos realm. He didn't break through and was even suppressing himself. That person seems to be blocking the breakthrough. He's suppressing himself. Tang Meiling revealed a puzzled expression. Her eyes were also filled with shock. She knew very well that cultivators were simply unable to resist the enormous enticement and comfortable feeling brought about by a breakthrough. But now, the lightning figure in front of her had actually stopped under the great temptation of breaking through consecutively. He was even suppressing himself. What kind of self-control and mental state did this require? In the terrifying vortex, the lightning figure's aura was between the peak of the 8-star primordial chaos realm and the late 8-star primordial chaos realm, and even the middle 8-star primordial chaos realm. It was as if a tug of war had broken out. This tug of war lasted for a long time. In the end, the aura around the late 8-star primordial chaos realm subsided. The lightning vortex and primordial spirit storm that occupied this space finally dissipated under the dazzling runes, and finally, this space returned to relative calm. The lightning figure appeared in midair, and the lightning arcs on his body were restrained. In the void, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged. Between his eyebrows, there was silver-yellow divine light of electric arcs. In his Naiwen palace, the silver tree of electric arcs had disappeared. Only a purple 9-petaled lotus remained. Du Xiaofu's essence soul was wrapped in silver electric arcs and resplendent yellow electric arcs, forming a silver-yellow electric arc. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit body exuded an ancient aura, but it also contained violent destruction. Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit closed its eyes. A bright yellow lightning talisman appeared in his Naiwen palace. It was a huge amount of information contained in the yellow lightning. As Du Xiaofu completely refined the yellow light spiritual thunder soul seed, this huge amount of information was also integrated into Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. In the space of the underground crater, there were still bright yellow electric arcs rippling all around. However, at this moment, these bright yellow electric arcs had already restrained their violence and destruction. They had become docile. Su Muxin, the smiling Rakshasa, and Tang Meiling felt the suppression greatly reduced. They looked at the figure in front of them, who was gradually withdrawing his electric arcs. Instantly, the three of them were shocked. The smiling Rakshasa, Tang Meiling, was the most shocked. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She exclaimed, "It's Du Xiaofu. He's not dead. He's even broken through to become an 8-star origin spiritual talisman master. Big brother Dabai isn't dead. He's still alive." Ji Jian's eyes were filled with astonishment. Then, a look of joy appeared in her eyes. After a while, Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged in the void, closed his eyes and began to tremble slightly. The majestic pressure of the primordial spirit round him dissipated. Chi, then, he opened his eyes. A white divine light, accompanied by silver-yellow lightning, shot out from Du Xiaofu's eyes. What a powerful aura! It's enough to crush all 8-star origin spiritual talisman masters. Tang Meiling was shocked. She could feel the terrifying aura from the body that was sitting cross-legged. It was not something that could be compared to those of the same level of cultivation. It was enough to crush those of the same level of cultivation. At this moment, as the terrifying aura spread, even she felt an inexplicable pressure. There was even a faint sense of fear. The silver-yellow electric arcs shot out from Du Xiaofu's eyes. Then, they dissipated into his eyes and became clear again. 8-star origin spiritual talisman, earth-shattering thunder. Du Xiaofu stood up. He felt the changes in his Naiwen palace, and a smile appeared on his face. After a desperate situation where he almost died, there was still a way out. In the end, he fused two types of spiritual lightning. Under the immense power of the lightning, he took the opportunity to break through from a perfected 8-star origin spiritual talisman master to a late-stage 8-star origin spiritual talisman master. This leap was like crossing a heavenly moat. Under the immense power of the lightning, there were still signs of a breakthrough. However, the successive breakthroughs were stopped by Du Xiaofu. When one reached the level of a perfected 8-star origin spiritual talisman master, the leap was huge. The successive breakthroughs made Du Xiaofu very clear about the consequences of spoiling things through excessive enthusiasm. The strength and joy brought about by a temporary surge in cultivation couldn't make up for the side effects brought about by the never-ending path of the strong. Therefore, Du Xiaofu maintained the last trace of clarity during the breakthrough and forcibly suppressed it. Under Du Xiaofu's refining, the majestic energy that had gathered in his body was condensed again. It even overflowed into his body and stopped from continuing to break through. As for the yellow spiritual lightning, after the final fusion, Du Xiaofu also learned a lot of information from his soul seed. That was the great earth-shattering thunder, which came from the vast earth. After countless years of silence, it absorbed the thunder and lightning left behind by the violent storms, lightning flashes, and thunder, and finally gathered together. By chance, those lightning bolts had obtained a fortuitous encounter and developed intelligence. They turned into the heavenly earth-shattering thunder, which was a type of spiritual thunder. This earth-shattering thunder was finally captured by the ancestors of the Hehuan school. However, none of the experts of the Hehuan school could fuse with it. They could only set up a talisman array to bind and suppress it. This imprisonment had trapped the earth-shattering thunder for 2,000 years. It seems to have changed. Peering into his body, Du Xiaofu felt that the body of the primordial spirit in his Naiwan palace had reached a higher level, whether in terms of the pressure or the intensity. More importantly, the soul seeds of the silver net soul-devouring thunder and the earth-shattering thunder had been fused together, and there was a new aura. Du Xiaofu even felt that the body of his primordial spirit had already fused with the spiritual root that he could not fuse with before. The talisman inscriptions of the spiritual root were like a light net that covered the primordial spirit, releasing a faint fluorescent light. It was as if the primordial spirit was wearing a light cloth. Du Xiaofu could clearly feel the powerful aura emanating from the primordial spirit. Compared to before, the primordial spirit seemed to have undergone a metamorphosis. At this moment, just the power and energy contained in the primordial spirit alone made Du Xiaofu feel that he had the confidence to fight against the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, from the Hehuan school. At this moment, the soul seeds of the silver net soul-devouring thunder and the earth-shattering thunder had fused into one. In addition to the fusion of the spiritual root, Du Xiaofu did not know how powerful the primordial spirit would be in the end. He was full of anticipation. But there was no doubt that the fusion of the two spiritual thunders, in addition to the spiritual root, made Du Xiaofu feel ferocious and intimidating under this metamorphosis. The peak of transcendent martial venerable, the divine body refining realm, Fu. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath, and a smile appeared on his face. In terms of spiritual talisman master, he had reached the late 8-star origin realm and was not far from the nirvana realm. In terms of martial arts, with the successive breakthroughs in the spiritual talisman master level, they complemented each other. The spiritual talisman master level nourished martial arts, and once again, martial arts received great benefits. He had just broken through to the transcendent realm, and now he had reached the peak of the transcendent realm and was close to the origin realm. At the transcendent martial venerable level, he had just broken through to the peak of the transcendent realm. It seemed that there was not much difference, but there was a huge gap between them. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body had also reached the third level of the golden-winged rock body refining technique. His whole body was crystal clear and filled with a purple-gold color. This time, he had consumed the blood of the azure dragon and the blood essence of many evil beasts on the heavenly beasts list. He had refined his bones and washed his marrow to the extreme, and finally, his body had reached the last level of the divine body refining realm. This was another metamorphosis in his body. At the original level of Du Xiaofu's body, he had cultivated the golden-winged rock body refining technique, and his body was already terrifying. Later, under the purple gold Xian thunder in the purple thunder profound cauldron, he had forged the indestructible Xian body. It was extremely difficult to strengthen his body. Now that he had stepped into the divine body refining realm, his body had strengthened and transformed again. Just the combat strength of his body alone was enough to strengthen Du Xiaofu by a large margin. One who survives a great disaster is bound to have good fortune in the future. His character is not bad. In the void, Du Xiaofu stood up and stretched slightly. The crisp sound of joints and bones could be heard. Phew, a mouthful of turbid air was then spat out from his throat, and the vibrations caused the space to tremble. Feeling the vast and mighty Xian qi in his body, Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with a smile. At this moment, he was a late-stage 8-star origin spiritual talisman master and a peak transcendent martial venerable. Compared to when he had entered this space, his strength was more than just the difference between heaven and earth. Chapter 1199. Translator, H2DH2 Mr. Du Xiaofu felt as if he could shatter space with just a wave of his hand. Even if he faced a Nirvana martial sovereign, he would not need to retreat. Du Xiaofu was overjoyed by the transformation this time. He was trapped in the terrifying great earth-crumbling thunder and was in a desperate situation. He had a slim chance of survival and was close to being destroyed. However, in the end, he still had such an opportunity. Du Xiaofu was unable to measure the magnitude of this opportunity. However, just the breakthrough in his cultivation this time was enough for Du Xiaofu to understand in his heart. It could be said that just the improvement in his cultivation this time was something that he might not be able to achieve in 10 years or even 10 years if he were to cultivate on his own outside. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu raised his head. His eyes suddenly surged with a bright light as he stared intently at the three beautiful figures in front of him. Tang Meiling, Ji Jian, Du Xiaofu's figure shot out from the sea of lightning. In a flash, he appeared in front of the three women. Other than Tang Meiling and Ji Jian, there was an extremely beautiful woman in the middle. She was so enchanting that her beauty was soul-stirring. La, without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. Amidst the sea of lightning arcs, lightning runes brought about an arc of lightning. They converged into two thunderbolts and instantly collided with Tang Meiling and Su Muxin. Little bastard. Following Du Xiaofu's sudden attack, Tang Meiling immediately turned pale and cursed loudly. The yellow thunderbolt shocked her in her weakened state. She immediately activated an energy pillar to defend herself. Su Muxin frowned slightly. She watched as the thunderbolt swept over. With a wave of her hand, a light screen blocked in front of her. Boom! The yellow thunderbolt exploded. It was the great earth-crumbling thunder. It shook Su Muxin and Tang Meiling, causing their figures to tremble. La, almost at the same time, Du Xiaofu appeared in front of Ji Jian. With a wave of his hand, he pulled Ji Jian away from the beautiful woman. Su Muxin's beautiful figure trembled. Her eyes secretly trembled, revealing a bit of emptiness and faintness, but she didn't stop him. Are you okay? Du Xiaofu pulled Ji Jian and retreated dozens of feet away, his eyes filled with worry. But seeing that Ji Jian was unscathed except for some injuries and weakness, Du Xiaofu felt relieved. Big brother Dabai, I'm fine. I knew you'd be fine. Looking at the young man in front of her, Ji Jian was so excited that she couldn't believe it. Then, for some reason, she suddenly lowered her head. Her beautiful face was flushed red, and she was so shy that she looked like she was about to cry. Du Xiaofu noticed Ji Jian's reaction, but he didn't take it to heart. At this moment, Tang Meiling was here, and she was an absolute powerhouse. And that beautiful woman also seemed familiar. Compared to Tang Meiling, she was probably more difficult to deal with. Du Xiaofu's eyes were fixed on Tang Meiling, filled with coldness. Originally, he didn't have a good impression of the Hehuan school. This time, he was almost killed by the Hehuan school. One could imagine how Du Xiaofu was feeling right now. Looking at Du Xiaofu, Su Muxin's eyes shone brightly on her pale face. Then, she glanced at Du Xiaofu and lowered her eyes slightly. On the other hand, Tang Meiling looked at Du Xiaofu with shock in her eyes. Then, she looked at him with interest. Her eyes were filled with astonishment, and a strange smile appeared on her lips. She said, "You have some capital. It seems that you're not in a good situation." Du Xiaofu said coldly. He could see at a glance that Tang Meiling and the beautiful woman were in a bad situation. Tang Meiling and the beautiful woman were like arrows at the end of their flight. On the other hand, he had just made a breakthrough, and his strength had skyrocketed. He definitely had a chance to suppress them. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Meiling's strange smile immediately disappeared. She recalled what happened back then, and immediately looked at Du Xiaofu with anger. She gritted her teeth and said, "Hateful brat, I said that if you fell into my hands again, I would definitely teach that brat a lesson. How dare he lie to me? Hateful. Do you think you still have the strength to do so?" Du Xiaofu sneered, his eyes filled with golden light. He stretched out his hand from the yellow lightning arc, and a purple-gold lightning arc suddenly streaked across the air and appeared in his palm. Roar! The purple-gold lightning arc faintly carried the roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles. In the end, it turned into a shocking divine weapon. It was the purple-gold heavenly tower. The purple-gold heavenly tower was no longer bound after Du Xiaofu refined the heavenly tower of earth. It naturally returned to Du Xiaofu's hand. Even if you want to fight, you should at least put on some clothes first. Do you think being naked will increase your battle prowess? Su Muxin raised her eyes slightly to look at Du Xiaofu. Her eyes secretly flickered with some soul-stirring power, but she did not look directly at Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu was confused when he heard that. He lowered his head to look at himself, and his expression immediately changed drastically. At this moment, Du Xiaofu finally walked out from the joy of escaping death and making a breakthrough. Only then did he realize that the clothes on his body had been destroyed into ashes by the earth-shattering thunder. At this moment, he was clean and naked. Holy shit! Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's expression changed drastically. A smear of redness crept onto his face. Most importantly, Du Xiaofu discovered that he was now naked and naked. All of his pouches of cosmos had been destroyed, so he could not find any clothes to cover his body. Facing the three women, Du Xiaofu's face flushed red in embarrassment. He could only use the purple-gold heavenly tower of earth to cover the important parts of his body. Ji Jian stood behind Du Xiaofu. She was even more bashful at that moment. Her face was completely red, and she lowered her head, not daring to look directly at him. He does have some capital. It's just that I didn't expect the Demon King Du Xiaofu to actually like to play naked. If this were to spread out, I'm afraid it would definitely shock the 9 provinces. Tang Meiling stared straight at Du Xiaofu, sizing him up with interest. The smile in her eyes rippled with lust. It was alluring. Put it on. Su Muxin frowned slightly. After hesitating for a moment, she waved her hand and threw a dark purple robe to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu had no other choice. A suction force gushed out from his palm and immediately sucked the robe into his hand. Dazzling lightning arcs erupted from his body, dazzling the eyes of others and making it difficult to pry into his body. As the lightning gradually dissipated, the void was completely empty. Everything had disappeared. Where's that little bastard? Why did he disappear? As the lightning dissipated, Tang Meiling's beautiful eyes were filled with doubt. After the dazzling lightning dissipated, Du Xiaofu's figure also disappeared. Not good. Almost at the same time as Tang Meiling's voice came out, Su Muxin's beautiful eyes immediately changed. Her aura suddenly soared into the sky and swept out in all directions. Crackle! At the same time, in the surrounding space, a large amount of purple-gold lightning arcs suddenly rippled and poured down. Accompanied by a terrifying aura of destruction, it filled the surrounding space. The aura of the purple-gold lightning arcs caused Su Muxin and Tang Miling's eyes to suddenly reveal a serious expression. All of this was within Su Muxin and Tang Miling's expectations. Quietly, in a moment of panic, a huge object filled with a terrifying aura covered the entire space and suddenly enveloped the entire area. Swish! Before Su Muxin and Tang Miling could react, the two girls were enveloped by a huge purple-gold cauldron. As the purple-gold cauldron rotated, it shrank to the size of a palm and hovered in front of Ji Jian. That terrifying aura caused Ji Jian's eyes to be filled with shock. Du Xiaofu, who had just disappeared, also appeared from the surrounding yellow lightning arcs. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was wearing a dark purple robe. Although it was a little tight, it was still a good fit, causing his tall and straight body to become even more sturdy. Humph! With a wave of his hand, the purple lightning profound cauldron hovered in his palm. Du Xiaofu's embarrassed and flushed face still had a faint blush on it. The purple lightning profound cauldron's aura was originally forcefully isolated by the earth-shattering thunder, causing Du Xiaofu to be unable to control it. However, at this moment, it had once again returned to Du Xiaofu's hands. Chapter 1200. Ji Jian snapped out of her daze. Seeing the scene before her, she guessed that her master and martial uncle were probably already trapped. She turned to Du Xiaofu and said loudly, "Big brother Dabai, don't hurt my master and martial uncle." "Your master and martial uncle?" Du Xiaofu stared at Ji Jian in surprise. "Big brother Dabai, it's like this." Ji Jian immediately told Du Xiaofu everything that had happened afterwards. She said, "Master is actually a good person." Zhao Lu had always been suspicious of Master's true identity. Later on, the spy Zhao Lu had arranged finally discovered that Master was actually a girl, and not a virgin at that. She then used Hehuan School's rules to suppress Master. Under Ji Jian's hurried narration, Du Xiaofu finally understood the gist of the situation. In summary, Su Muxin was actually a girl, and had been dressing as a boy in Hehuan School all this time, keeping the entire Shangzhou in the dark. Hehuan School had two factions. One was the schoolmaster faction led by Su Muxin, and the other was the school supervisor faction led by Zhao Lu. The schoolmaster faction led by Su Muxin was left behind by Su Muxin's master, the previous schoolmaster. This previous Hehuan School schoolmaster had already left Hehuan School more than 10 years ago. It was said that he had gone in search of the legendary Qianyang's subduing dragon skill, and thus his whereabouts had always been unknown. Zhao Lu had set her sights on the Hehuan School schoolmaster position. With the secret support of some of the Grand Elders, she finally found an excuse this time. She used the excuse that Du Xiaofu had obtained the Qianyang's subduing dragon skill and escaped from Su Muxin's grasp. Later on, she discovered that Su Muxin was a girl, and that she was no longer a virgin. According to the Hehuan School's rules, Su Muxin could no longer become the schoolmaster. Although Hehuan School had many dual cultivation techniques, as the schoolmaster of Hehuan School, she had to maintain her virginity. Once she was no longer a virgin, no matter how strong she was, she could not become the Hehuan School's schoolmaster. Zhao Lu had her means. After learning that Su Muxin was a girl, she also discovered that Su Muxin was no longer a virgin. She immediately arranged for the Grand Elders to vote to revoke Su Muxin's position as the schoolmaster and send her to prison. In the prison, Zhao Lu had some misgivings. After all, the previous schoolmaster might still be alive. He was a strong person in Hehuan School. To prevent any mishaps in the future, she wanted to completely eliminate all future troubles. She found an excuse to cripple Su Muxin's strength first. As the schoolmaster of Hehuan School, Su Muxin was a dual cultivator of martial arts and talisman. She knew the prison talisman formation like the back of her hand. Even though Zhao Lu had secretly arranged a lot of things, she could not stop Su Muxin. In the end, she escaped to the talisman formation that Du Xiaofu had been forced to enter to seal the earth-shattering thunder. In that case, Su Muxin is a girl. Now the Hehuan school is in internal strife. When Du Xiaofu heard this, his eyes turned. When he heard that Su Muxin was a girl, he felt that something was wrong. However, when he thought about it carefully, he could not think of anything. Soon after, a smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's resolute and determined face. Apart from being surprised that Su Muxin was a girl, when Du Xiaofu saw Su Muxin's fate, he could not help but feel that he had gotten his revenge. He was secretly delighted. Big brother Dabai, don't hate my master. In fact, my master is really a good person. Even before you were trapped and escaped, my master had promised me that as long as you handed over the Qianyang subduing dragon art, he would definitely ensure that you leave safely. Master threw you into the heavenly prison to scare you and make you hand over the Qianyang subduing dragon art. Ji Jian said worriedly to Du Xiaofu. When she saw Du Xiaofu's delighted expression, she knew that Du Xiaofu was rejoicing in her misfortune. Is that so? Du Xiaofu raised his brows and frowned. However, Du Xiaofu was also very unhappy that he had been chased by Su Muxin for so long on the Tianhuang mainland. However, compared to his previous displeasure, Du Xiaofu was much more relieved now. After all, Su Muxin was a girl and was also Ji Jian's master. Big brother Dabai, hurry and let master and martial uncle out. Martial uncle and master were already severely injured in order to protect me. They can't be injured anymore. Ji Jian's face was full of worry. She was afraid that Du Xiaofu would make Su Muxin and Tang Meiling suffer. After hearing Ji Jian's words, Du Xiaofu could only smile helplessly. Finally, he formed a hand seal and the purple thunder profound cauldron revolved in his palm. As the purple thunder profound cauldron gradually expanded, two beautiful figures appeared under the purple thunder profound cauldron. These two people were naturally Su Muxin and Tang Meiling. However, at this moment, the beautiful and seductive woman's hair was disheveled. Their hair was disheveled, and they were covered in purple gold lightning aura. It seemed that the two of them must have suffered a little in the purple thunder profound cauldron just now. Little bastard, I'm not done with you. As soon as she came out of the purple thunder profound cauldron, the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Meiling, immediately jumped up in anger. She glared at Du Xiaofu and looked like she was going to fight to the death with Du Xiaofu. Martial uncle, don't. Let's talk things over. Ji Jian was afraid that something else would happen and immediately pulled Tang Meiling back. At this moment, Su Muxin's eyes were fixed on the purple thunder profound cauldron that Du Xiaofu had put into his body. Her eyes were filled with surprise. I say, big sister Tang, you are already an arrow at the end of its flight. You can't do anything to me now. If you attack me again, I won't be so nice. After putting away the purple thunder profound cauldron without leaving a trace, Du Xiaofu looked at Tang Meiling with a faint smile. With his current cultivation and control of everything in the space, Du Xiaofu now had absolute confidence that he didn't need to fear the laughing Rakshasa, Tang Meiling. Stinking brat, you! The laughing Rakshasa, Tang Meiling, heard Du Xiaofu's blunt words and gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to jump up and say something, Su Muxin signaled her to keep quiet. Su Muxin looked at Du Xiaofu. Her fair face was like jade. Although her face was pale, the shape of her beautiful lips seemed to always show off a kind of nobility and elegance that was completely different from her seductive aura. Su Muxin looked at Du Xiaofu and said, even if we're injured and you seem to have fused with the earth-collapsing thunder, you might not be able to do anything to us. Du Xiaofu nodded and said, even if we're injured and you seem to have merged with the earth-collapsing thunder, you might not be able to do anything to us. Pausing for a moment, Su Muxin lifted her head slightly and looked at Du Xiaofu. Her deathly pale face still carried a soul-stirring charm, as if it was a natural allure. Her voice was also soft and enchanting as she continued, given your current cultivation, it seems that you have made great progress. However, you have merged with the sky-shattering earth thunder and may also possess the Qianyang dragon subduing art. Once you leave this place, Zhao Lu will definitely not let you off and you will not be able to leave the all-pleasure sect. When Du Xiaofu heard this, he frowned. Su Muxin's words made sense. Although his strength had increased a lot, it wouldn't be easy for him to walk out of the Hehuan school. Merging with the earth-shattering thunder. This bastard brat's luck is pretty good. Tang Meiling curled her lips. She naturally knew how great of an opportunity it was to merge with a spiritual thunder. However, Tang Meiling didn't know that Du Xiaofu had 3 types of spiritual thunder in his body. Moreover, he had merged with 2 types of spiritual thunder himself. If Tang Meiling found out, who knew how shocked she would be? She would probably be so shocked that she wouldn't be able to recover from the setback. Don't threaten me. I'm not the same as before. It's not impossible for me to leave now. After a while, Du Xiaofu opened his mouth and said to Su Muxin. Although it was risky to rely on the trump cards, he had to leave the Hehuan school quietly. It wasn't impossible. You can try. I know you have a lot of tricks up your sleeves, but if the Hehuan school could let you leave so easily, it would have been swallowed up by other forces in the past few years, Su Muxin said. Master, big brother Dabai, we're in the same boat now. Let's think of a way to leave first. Ji Jian immediately stood between Su Muxin and Du Xiaofu, afraid that Du Xiaofu and Su Muxin would fight again. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. They were indeed in the same boat now. If he joined forces with Su Muxin, their chances of leaving the Hehuan school would be much higher. Chapter 1201. With Ji Jian in the middle, Du Xiaofu could somewhat trust Su Muxin at this moment. What do you all plan to do now? After a while, Du Xiaofu looked at Su Muxin and the laughing Rakshasa Tang Meiling and asked. When my master returns to the sect, it will be time for those people to suffer. The laughing Rakshasa Tang Meiling glared viciously at Du Xiaofu, as if tacitly agreeing that they were all in the same boat and could temporarily work together. Du Xiaofu had already gotten a general idea of the situation regarding Tang Meiling and Su Muxin's master from Ji Jian earlier. Hearing Tang Meiling's words, he smiled faintly and said, We still don't know when your master will return. Even if he does, Hehuan school would already be in the hands of that Zhao Lu. Do you think she would know about you all, much less know that you all are here right now? Who knows? They might even dare to make a move against your master when the time comes. You, hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Tang Meiling gritted her teeth in anger. However, she knew that Du Xiaofu's words made sense, and she had no way to refute them. He's right. Zhao Lu is already in control of Hehuan school. Even if master returns, everything will change. No one knows what will happen. Su Muxin said to Tang Meiling. Then, she turned to look at Du Xiaofu, a complicated, bottomless look in her eyes. After a while, she asked Du Xiaofu, Do you have any plans? Could it be that the position of Hehuan school's school head can be snatched away just like that? Du Xiaofu asked Su Muxin after a moment's thought. Su Muxin replied, Hehuan school has a council of elders. Over the years, Zhao Lu has roped in quite a few elders. The Council of Elders' decisions carry a lot of weight. This time, Zhao Lu arranged for the Council of Elders to vote. More than half of the elders have already colluded with her. Hearing Su Muxin's words, Tang Meiling looked at Du Xiaofu and said, Actually, this is also related to another fight over Hehuan school 20 years ago. Is it related to what happened 20 years ago? Du Xiaofu's brow furrowed. Tang Meiling didn't say anything else. Instead, she looked at Su Muxin as if she was asking for her opinion. Amidst Su Muxin's charm and nobility, she quietly revealed a complicated expression that was difficult to detect. Her clear eyes were blurred and covered in a faint shadow. She nodded to Tang Meiling and said, he possesses the Qianyang subduing dragon art, so he's more or less involved in this matter. There's no harm in letting him know. Tang Meiling rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu and said, ever since Hehuan School was founded, only those who cultivated the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger art could become the school head and supervisor. It's a heaven-level cultivation technique. But 2,000 years ago, for some unknown reason, the ancestors of Hehuan School split the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger art into two, the Qianyang subduing dragon art and the Kuan-Yin subduing tiger art. Legend has it that the ancestors of Hehuan School placed the Qianyang subduing dragon art in Mount Cloudy Rain. There are also rumors that it's in other places, but no one has been able to find it in the past 2,000 years. Pausing for a moment, Tang Meiling pursed her red lips and rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. She continued, because the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger art was split into two, only leaving behind the Kuan-Yin subduing tiger art, its power was greatly reduced. This also caused the Hehuan School's strength to decline over the past 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago, the Hehuan School was located in Shangzhou. Even the Sa Meng sword sect feared it. Otherwise, that brat Mu Jianchen from the Sa Meng sword sect wouldn't have dared to come to my Hehuan School in such a threatening manner and demand that the Hehuan School hand you over. You're saying that the Sa Meng sword sect's Mu Jianchen went to the Hehuan School to find me? Du Xiaofu was very surprised. His mind turned. The Sa Meng sword sect was indeed located in Shangzhou. Back in Tianhuang continent, they didn't have much of a relationship with Mu Jianchen. They were only one of the 12 godly heroes in the outside world. That Mu Jianchen of the Sa Meng sword sect brought many experts from the Sa Meng sword sect into the Hehuan School. In the end, he even injured an elder from the Manchu. He said that you were also one of the 12 godly heroes and that you were the leader. Whoever in the Hehuan School dared to touch you would be making an enemy out of him and the Sa Meng sword sect. He only left after Zhao Lu and the others lied to him that you left, Ji Jian said to Du Xiaofu with certainty. She also knew about this matter. Sa Meng sword sect's Mu Jianchen. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly. Ripples appeared in his eyes as he committed this person to memory. Tang Meiling glanced at Du Xiaofu and continued, after the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger technique was split into two, the power of the Kuan-Yin taming tiger technique was greatly reduced. The strength of the Hehuan sect has been faintly weakening, and they have been unable to find a way to combine the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger technique to form the Heaven-level technique, Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger technique. Therefore, more than 20 years ago, someone suggested that the sect rules be changed to another dual cultivation technique, the Yin-Yang harmony technique. This technique is second only to the Heaven and Earth Dragon Tiger technique in the Hehuan sect. Although it has not truly reached the Heaven level, it is said that it is the closest to it. About 40 years ago, Zhao Lu and Zheng Anteo both used the Yin-Yang harmony technique and stood out among their peers. They suppressed their peers and were the first to become martial honors and 8-star spirit talisman masters. Therefore, under the influence of some people, 20 years later, which is about 20 years ago, the elders agreed to change the sect rules. From now on, the Yin-Yang harmony technique will be the sect leader's cultivation technique and Zhao Lu will be the next sect leader. I see. After listening to Tang Meiling's words, Du Xiaofu roughly understood the grudges between them. He then asked curiously, since the elders had already agreed, why didn't Zhao Lu become the overlord? That's because the overlord of the Hehuan School, who is also my junior sister's master, had a very high status in the Manchu. She had a fiery temper and severely injured an elder on the spot. She objected, but the elders refused to let it go. In the end, they decided to let the younger generation compete for the position of the overlord. Whoever is stronger will become the next overlord. The elders were confident and thus agreed. Tang Meiling revealed a charming smile and proudly said, however, Zhao Lu never expected that my master had already known what those people were thinking. She was unwilling to change the rules left behind by the Manchu's ancestors and secretly nurtured my junior sister. My junior sister's talent was peerless. She cultivated both the martial path and talisman path. Her martial path was a supreme talent, while her talisman path was also a supreme spiritual root. She also secretly cultivated the Kuan-Yin tiger subduing technique and hid her true strength for more than 10 years in the Manchu. Licking her dry lips, Tang Meiling proudly said, "On the day of the competition, my junior sister revealed her true strength and defeated Zhao Lu, who thought that victory was in her grasp. In the end, with Master's support, she became the next overlord." In order to find the Qianyang dragon subduing technique, Master abdicated and left the Hehuan school to search for it. All these years, there was no news. However, Zhao Lu and the others did not give up and secretly arranged to seize the position of overlord. This time, they took the opportunity to make trouble and discovered that my junior sister was no longer a virgin. Therefore, under their arrangement, the elders decided to abdicate my junior sister's position and let Zhao Lu become the Hehuan school's overlord. At this point, she subconsciously looked at Su Muxin and did not say anything. As her senior sister, Tang Meiling was also very curious. When exactly did her junior sister lose her virginity? In the entire Shangzhou, she had never seen or felt that her junior sister was interested in anyone of the same generation. Su Muxin slightly bit her teeth and lips. Her eyes were a little blurred. She looked at the youth in front of her who was still wearing the long robe she wore. Everything happened in the illusory realm. He probably did not even know. Originally, she thought that she would never have anything to do with him in this life. Who knew that fate would make fools of people? The will of heaven was unpredictable. In the end, they were entangled together like this. Su Muxin sighed and lowered her eyes. Who would have thought that the world would be so strange? In other words, you are powerless to reverse the situation. Even if you kill Zhao Lu, you will not be able to take the position of overlord. Du Xiaofu said with a frown. You can say that. Tang Meiling nodded at Du Xiaofu. The Hehuan school had its own rules. Zhao Lu and Zheng Anteo cultivated the yin-yang combination technique. Naturally, they could become the overlord. This time, when she fought with Zhao Lu, her junior sister also exposed that she cultivated the Kuan-Yin tiger subduing technique and was not a virgin. Naturally, she could not become the overlord. Moreover, the elders of the Hehuan school had already made their decision. Even if they defeated Zhao Lu, they would not be able to reverse the situation. Even if Zhao Lu and Zheng Anteo were alone, they would not be able to do anything to her junior sister. However, Tang Meiling knew that if Zhao Lu and Zheng Anteo were to join forces, they would be able to suppress her junior sister. I believe that the Hehuan school must have hidden experts. Don't they care about anything? Du Xiaofu asked. When he was in the Hehuan school, he felt many hidden auras. Among them, there were at least 2 martial domain realm auras. They should be the hidden experts of the Hehuan school. Chapter 1202. This, Tang Meiling hesitated for a moment, then said to Du Xiaofu, I'll tell you the truth. My Hehuan school was extremely powerful in the past. It wasn't much weaker than the Saiman sword sect. There were many martial domain realm and 9-star talisman masters in the Manchu back then. Other than those who died due to the Great Limit, there was also a martial domain realm elder and a 9-star talisman master several hundred years ago. They entered this place to fuse with the great earth crumbling thunder and never returned. There are still 5 martial domain realm and 9-star talisman masters in the Manchu, including my master. However, my master isn't in the Manchu right now. There are also the 2 oldest grand elders. It's said that they haven't appeared in the past 1,000 years. I don't know if they have the great limit. At their cultivation level, they only want to improve and search for opportunities everywhere. They won't show themselves in the Manchu at all. As for who should be the schoolmaster, even if they know, they won't interfere. Tang Meiling's beautiful eyes narrowed as she said, the other martial domain realm elder and 9-star talisman master are Zhao Lu's masters. This is troublesome. Du Xiaofu was depressed. He already knew the situation from Tang Miling's words. In the Hehuan sect, Zhao Lu already had everything under control. The two people above her who could restrain her were her master, and the group of elders had also been controlled. Su Muxi no longer had a chance to retaliate. As long as we leave the Hehuan school, we'll have a chance to find my master. The elder group doesn't listen to Zhao Lu all the time. Some of them are still observing. Many of them have been secretly locked up in a prison by Zhao Lu. She's afraid that there will be an accident during the elder group's vote. Otherwise, Zhao Lu wouldn't have had absolute confidence in the elder group's vote back then, Su Muxin said. No matter what, leaving the Hehuan school is the most important thing now. Du Xiaofu said. The most important thing now was to leave the Hehuan school. Du Xiaofu, do you have the real Qianyang subduing dragon art on you? Tang Miling looked at Du Xiaofu and asked. She recalled how she was tricked by this brat in the prison with the fake Qianyang subduing dragon art. This, Du Xiaofu hesitated. He did have the real Qianyang subduing dragon art, but he didn't know if he should completely trust Su Muxin and the Grand Elder's words. One must always be on guard against others, not to mention that they were still in the Hehuan sect. Sigh, Tang Miling sighed softly. She glanced at Du Xiaofu and said, it's useless even if you have the real Qianyang subduing dragon art. Although junior sister has practiced the Kuan-Yin subduing tiger art, it's not. So even if you have the real Qianyang subduing dragon art, it's useless. Let's recuperate first. When I recover, we might have a chance to leave. After all, they probably think that we're dead. They're in the light now, and we're in the dark. Su Muxin said calmly. Damn it. Zhao Lu obviously snatched the position of sect leader, but she still wants to spread the news and invite all the major forces to the Hehuan school to watch the ceremony. It should be a few days later. Tang Miling said hatefully. It was obvious that she was very unhappy. She stamped her feet slightly, and her graceful curves were exquisite and alluring. Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly flickered, as if he had sensed something. Then, a misty light mist gushed out from between his eyebrows, spreading out circles of spatial ripples with an ancient and boundless aura. He said to Su Muxin, Tang Miling, and Ji Jian, come in here and recuperate. It'll be faster. You little bastard, not a single word you say is true. Why should I believe you? Tang Miling didn't dare to believe Du Xiaofu. She still hadn't forgotten how she was tricked last time. She was afraid that Du Xiaofu didn't have good intentions towards them. Martial Ant, believe in Big Brother Dabai. He won't do anything to us. Ji Jian smiled at Tang Miling. Then, she walked directly into the rippling spatial ripples. Su Muxin glanced at Du Xiaofu. She tapped her feet lightly, and her graceful figure instantly drew an alluring arc as she entered the spatial ripples. Humph, if you dare to lie to me again, I won't let you off. Tang Miling pouted. After glaring at Du Xiaofu, she also entered the spatial ripples. Du Xiaofu's brows twitched slightly. At this moment, everyone was indeed in the same boat. Without Su Muxin and Tang Miling's help, it would be somewhat risky for him to leave the Hehuan school. Therefore, Du Xiaofu also hoped that Tang Miling and Su Muxin would recover from their injuries as soon as possible. If the experts of the Hehuan school sensed that the heavenly earth-shattering thunder had been fused, they would probably directly enter this place. Du Xiaofu put away the ancient desolate space. His eyes were filled with doubt as he muttered, why is there still someone here? At the same time, Du Xiaofu's figure also disappeared from the spot. This deep underground space was originally the lair of the heavenly earth-shattering thunder. Resplendent yellow electric arcs could be seen everywhere. Crackle, occasionally, electric arcs would gather and shuttle back and forth in the sea of electric arcs. However, after Du Xiaofu had fused with the heavenly earth-shattering thunder, the dense yellow electric arcs were no longer destructive and violent. Especially when Du Xiaofu's figure passed by, the yellow electric arcs automatically separated. Du Xiaofu's figure swooped down all the way. At this moment, when he carefully observed, he discovered that this underground space was so deep that it seemed as if it really led to the nine hells. After half an hour, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared in front of a sea of surging yellow electric arcs. The yellow electric arcs here were even more powerful, and they still carried a violent and destructive aura. This isn't normal, Du Xiaofu's eyes revealed a look of doubt. With a wave of his sleeve, the bright yellow electric arcs in front of him suddenly split into two, and a small cave appeared in front of Du Xiaofu's eyes. There were no restrictions set up in the cave, and it was filled with a sea of bright yellow electric arcs. In the middle of the electric arcs, Du Xiaofu could clearly see two figures sitting cross-legged. It was a man and a woman, and both of their eyes were tightly shut. The two of them looked like they were in their 40s, and their bodies were wrapped in a black and white inlaid rune light circle that protected them. Strictly speaking, the light circle did not protect the two of them. Instead, it was absorbing traces of yellow electric arcs. Finally, it slowly poured the absorbed yellow electric arcs into the two of them. The man and woman were actually absorbing the energy of the heavenly earth-shattering thunder. Du Xiaofu's eyes were filled with doubt. The woman's charm was outstanding, and her fine black hair was tied up in a bun. Her face was graceful and luxurious. As for the man, his golden hair was loose, and he gave off a wild aura. Although the two of them were sitting cross-legged, they were currently facing each other, and their four hands formed an extremely strange hand seal. At this moment, what made Du Xiaofu even more surprised was that although the two of them were sitting cross-legged, Du Xiaofu could faintly feel that the aura of the two of them was extremely boundless. It even made Du Xiaofu feel that the more he probed, the more vast it felt. An expert, an absolute expert. Du Xiaofu immediately frowned. The two of them were able to stay in this place unscathed, and it seemed that they had been here for a long time. They were actually not destroyed by the heavenly earth-shattering thunder, and instead looked leisurely, as if they were deliberately absorbing the heavenly earth-shattering thunder. They were definitely terrifying experts, and Du Xiaofu could not help but feel wary. Feeling the hand seals formed by the man and woman at this moment, and the terrifying aura that spread out from the two of them, Du Xiaofu seemed to be able to feel a kind of déjà vu aura, as if he was quite familiar with it. Just as Du Xiaofu's thoughts were flying through his mind, the bright yellow electric arcs in the rock cave had gradually disappeared. Then, the man and woman's hand seals dispersed, and the black and white light circle on their bodies dispersed. Their tightly shut eyes trembled slightly, and then they opened. Chi, following which, the man and woman opened their eyes, and a bright light shot out from their eyes. Two powerful and terrifying auras immediately spread out from their bodies, and yellow electric arcs overflowed in all directions. Dang dang, just the aura that spread out from the man and woman's body was enough to cause Du Xiaofu, who was far away, to directly take a few steps back. Boom, that formless and vast aura was incomparably majestic, and revealed an endless vastness. Too strong. Du Xiaofu was shocked. At this moment, the aura that spread out from the man and woman made Du Xiaofu feel that it should be above that of his master, honorable weapon, and fifth martial uncle, Minister Gmo. At this moment, Du Xiaofu also immediately became vigilant. His aura surged, and his body emitted a golden light, causing the bright yellow electric arcs in the space to surge. The yellow-haired man opened his eyes, and stretched his waist. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a rather strange gaze, and slightly raised his eyebrows. This kid seems to be only a transcendent martial honorable. Daring to come down with such strength, and still not being killed, this is a miracle. No, suddenly, the yellow-haired man seemed to have discovered something, and his eyes trembled fiercely. He immediately stood up and looked at Du Xiaofu in shock. Fused with the heaven-shattering earth thunder, you actually fused with that spirit thunder, and only have the cultivation of a transcendent martial honorable. How is this possible? Chapter 1203. The middle-aged woman also stood up. She looked at Du Xiaofu with her yellow eyes, and an invisible aura enveloped the area. She said to the middle-aged man beside her, "This brat probably has more than one type of spirit lightning. This brat is really strange." The yellow-haired middle-aged man stared at Du Xiaofu as if he was looking at a new continent. He then asked, "Are you a disciple of the Hehuan school?" Du Xiaofu heard this and looked at the man and woman who were secretly terrified. His eyes darted around and he asked, "Who are you?" Du Xiaofu couldn't help but suspect that these two people were strong cultivators from the Hehuan school. With his current relationship with the Hehuan school, Du Xiaofu didn't dare to tell these two that he was still in a relationship with the Hehuan school. "I was the one who sealed that bolt of heavenly earth thunder here. Brat, you took advantage of me and merged with my heavenly earth thunder. You actually don't know who I am." The yellow-haired middle-aged man looked at Du Xiaofu with a sullen expression. He had painstakingly captured that bolt of heavenly earth thunder, but in the end, he couldn't merge with it. He could only settle for the next best thing. He didn't think that this transcendent martial saint would be able to merge with it. He didn't even know who he was. The yellow-haired middle-aged man frowned and said sullenly, "It's no wonder. So many years have passed. It's normal that you don't know who I am. It should be close to 2,000 years. 2,000 years." Hearing this number, Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly widened. The heavenly earth thunder had been trapped for 2,000 years. Calculating the time, this person might really be telling the truth. He doesn't seem very old, but he's already a transcendent martial saint and has merged with the heavenly earth thunder. He seems to have more than one type of spirit lightning. Tianzi is rare. The middle-aged woman sized up Du Xiaofu and her brows twitched. She said, "However, the aura on his body doesn't belong to the Hehuan school. It's like the aura of a demonic beast, but not of the beast clan. This brat is strange. Tianzi is indeed strong." The yellow-haired middle-aged man looked at Du Xiaofu and sensed Du Xiaofu's vigilance. He smiled and said, "You don't need to be nervous, kid. Only those who are fated to get the earth-shattering thunder. We've had it for 2,000 years, but we still haven't been able to fuse with it. You being able to fuse with the heavenly thunder of earth is your own destiny. We are Ru Meng Ru Kuang from Hehuan school. Back then, people called us Ru Meng Ru Kuang, and we were also one of the headmasters of Hehuan school. With our status, we won't do anything to a brat like you. We're not that petty. Could it be that you were able to enter this place because of Hehuan school?" Wild Dream Dual Domain Lord, listening to the yellow-haired middle-aged man's words, Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. With the strength of these two people, if they wanted to do anything to him, it would definitely be troublesome. He was afraid that he would be in big trouble when the time came. "I do have some relationship with Hehuan school, but it's not a good relationship. I can't do anything to those people from Hehuan school, so I could only escape here." Du Xiaofu didn't hide it anymore. With their status, they had already shown their sincerity. There was no need for him to hide it anymore. Anyway, if they wanted to fight, he could only fight with all his strength. So that's how it is. This is fate. Hearing this, the yellow-haired middle-aged man laughed and said to Du Xiaofu, "You were chased here by Hehuan school. Does Hehuan school have a deep grudge against you, or do you have a deep grudge against Hehuan school? It has nothing to do with me. It's your Hehuan school that's in chaos." Du Xiaofu felt that the yellow-haired middle-aged man in front of him had a straightforward personality and wasn't a treacherous person. Therefore, he didn't hide it anymore. Hehuan school is in chaos. Hearing this, the middle-aged woman frowned. Her eyes moved and she asked Du Xiaofu, "What's the situation in Hehuan school now?" Du Xiaofu didn't have to hide it. He told her the cause of the incident from Su Muxin and Tang Miling, as well as the general situation in Hehuan school. They actually dared to have internal strife. This group of disappointing things. I'm so angry. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the yellow-haired middle-aged man immediately cursed. He didn't care about his status at all, but then he stared at Du Xiaofu and said, "Brat, did you just say that you obtained the Qianyang subduing dragon art?" "That's right." Du Xiaofu nodded. The Qianyang subduing dragon art was indeed in his possession. "You were able to open the Qianyang subduing dragon art. Are you sure you haven't practiced any Hehuan school's cultivation methods?" The yellow-haired middle-aged man became more and more puzzled. He curiously sized up Du Xiaofu. "I've already opened it, and I haven't practiced any Hehuan school's cultivation methods." Du Xiaofu nodded. "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. If you're not a disciple of Hehuan school, it's impossible for you to open the Qianyang subduing dragon art." The yellow-haired middle-aged man said with certainty, "I set up a restriction on it. As long as you're not a disciple of Hehuan school, it's impossible for you to obtain the cultivation methods inside by force. It will only self-destruct. You were the one who placed the Qianyang subduing dragon art." Du Xiaofu's gaze trembled. From his tone, the Qianyang subduing dragon art seemed to have been placed by the yellow-haired middle-aged man in front of him. "That's right. Back then, I was the one who split the Qianyang dragon tiger art into two and hid the Qianyang subduing dragon art in Mount Cloudy Rain." The yellow-haired middle-aged man nodded. His hair swayed slightly, and his eyes revealed some anger. He said angrily, "But I didn't expect those bastards to get worse with each generation. They even dare to cause internal strife now. When I get out, I'll definitely slap them to death." "Alright, don't be angry. They're just some juniors. Don't you feel embarrassed to interfere?" The middle-aged woman looked at the yellow-haired middle-aged man and rolled her eyes slightly. She said, "Besides, you were the one who split the Qianyang dragon tiger art into two and hid the Qianyang subduing dragon art in Mount Cloudy Rain. Otherwise, things wouldn't be like this now." The yellow-haired middle-aged man seemed to be a little henpecked in front of the middle-aged woman. He curled his lips and softly said, "Back then, I only wanted to give them some motivation to search. Who knows, they might be able to find the treasure left behind by an emperor. I thought that since we were still around, the Qianyang dragon tiger art wouldn't be lost in Hehuan school. I never expected that our delay would end up being 2,000 years. In short, this matter is also related to you. Moreover, these are matters of the younger generation. Given your status, it isn't appropriate for you to go out and resolve them. There are some things that we should clarify." After the middle-aged woman finished speaking to the yellow-haired middle-aged man, she looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "You just said that the current sect master of Hehuan school was forced to flee here. Do you know where they are now?" Du Xiaofu was a little hesitant. He didn't know if he should trust the two of them. The yellow-haired middle-aged man saw Du Xiaofu's hesitation and said with a smile, "Kid, you don't have to be wary of us. You have the Qianyang dragon subduing technique. You can be considered a member of Hehuan school. With our status, even if you are an enemy of Hehuan school, we won't attack a junior like you." Du Xiaofu formed a seal with his hands. Then, a misty light shot out from between his eyebrows and the desolate ancient space appeared in front of him. It seems to be an extraordinary treasure. No wonder this kid is so cautious." The yellow-haired middle-aged man was a little surprised. He could feel that the desolate ancient space was extraordinary. Chi, the space rippled and fluctuated. Then, Su Muxin, Tang Miling, and Ji Jian appeared in the desolate ancient space. The remaining two updates will probably be done very late. It might even be after midnight. Brothers, please forgive us. Today's update won't be short. It will be very late. Tomorrow's update won't be short either. As for the update time, I apologize. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.